discard his cards for the same purpose. Although that trick only works when you are the lowest level, so I'm not.
Test 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Test, 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 1, 2, testing, 1, 1, testing, echo cancellation, testing, 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 1, 2, testing, testing, 1, 2, microphone, testing, 1, microphone, slamming fucking doors. Sucker.
Why? What?
Yeah, very good.
What bunch of them? Grab it. Come back there. So why are you gonna shoot somebody?
Fucking audio controls seem a little lagged out. Ever since I installed Windows 10. I don't know what I thought I had to revert and reload everything.
Understandable. You gonna finish with the plate? Or should I just come around here? My plate's off the table. We'll get started.
someone say something for a little bit. Just test the audio.
Hello. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now up to bat. Mike Piazza. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Testing. He's concerned, Matt.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Alright, give me 1 second.
Testing, testing.
Uncle Stewie.
Is hopefully a tad less hangry than he was 5 minutes ago.
Testing.
Testing, testing.
Uncle Stewie.
Casey got the sidekick can. Share a Coke with a sidekick. Nobody's getting the Legendary Gamer cans, man. Suck.
Testing. Testing. Too hot. Way too hot.
You share a non-wood can.
What?
You need to find that share with non-wood can.
You can actually, there are several different amusement parks around the area that while this promotion's in effect, they actually have custom printing can stations that you can get it. Well, no, because then he's got to find someone to cover your shit, which sucks.
Does.
From the boss's perspective, that totally blows.
Does. But I made him aware that I was shipping out. This was the date they had set, but actually wasn't mine. I totally blindsided with me joined up. Now that they have an archer.
That's cool. The Great Lakes actually is nice in the summer. I had a friend who grew up in Michigan. It's not that bad. It's better to be there in the summer than in the winter.
Probably too busy to care.
Most likely.
I doubt I'll be enjoying the scenery too much.
So how long is your basic and then
7 to 9 weeks is basic.
Pre-recording. Go.
Hello and welcome to Murderhobo Talk Radio. To a very special episode of Murderhobo Talk Radio, not only including our two-parter on the World of Darkness, as this episode is entitled Murderhobo the Thieving, a toolbox of insufficient light. This is also going to be my last episode as that guy, as I will be pursuing another career.
That takes him away,
Far, far away.
where he'll disappear for 6 months at a time. Not naming any careers,
And this time it doesn't involve him dressing in drag.
but it's long, hard, and full of semen.
Coincidentally, the same description is from his previous career, but again, no dresses this time. I'm implying he's a hooker.
We got that right here. We got that.
Sometimes that guy is listed on the uptake.
No, you understood.
Anyway, this is episode 3 of Murderhobo Talk Radio.
I will be passing the torch to one of these fine people. It's not been that long, but it should be kept lit. And Stewie is looking at Anne.
I'm always lit.
I was looking at Stewie.
I touched my nose, meaning not it.
But
And came of Murderhobo Bediddle.
we are concluding our two-parter. Tonight's discussion on the New World of Darkness.
Well, the classic New World of Darkness, not the second edition, because I know jack shit about that.
First edition New World of Darkness.
Wait. Classic New World of Darkness? Okay.
Kinema.
It's late model World of Darkness.
They're really starting to get confusing with how many titles they have.
No, there's Classic 1,
Well, there's Classic 01.
then there's WAD, and then now there's BNS 1.
And Onyx Path 1.
Onyx Path 1's
And Onyx Path does New WAD as well.
OP 1, because, you know.
It is.
Yeah, they've just got second editions for all of the major imprints on World of Darkness.
Okay, so we're talking about Classic New WAD from White.
Yep.
Back when White Wolf was still publishing books.
When they cared about the people that use their materials.
White Wolf cares.
And it wasn't all Eve the mathematic,
Once again,
the
Anne.
mathematician. Eve the mathematician? Yeah.
The money grabbing.
Once
Eve
again,
the minefield forming?
Anne has put together a summary.
Basically just to keep us organized, because there is god-awfully large amounts of crap in New WAD. Okay, first off, Classic World of Darkness, at the outset, unlike OWAD, InWAD had very little starting meta plot in its imprints. This was White Wolf's way of addressing the two biggest concerns that were often brought up in relation to OWAD play. First, that the volumes of meta plot that governed every aspect of behavior by a character didn't really allow for anything other than pretty slavish adherence to a stereotype. And second, that a player was forced to buy a small library of White Wolf books to ensure access to everything
Wait,
they
how
might
did
want
that
to do.
change? How did that change?
Because you could technically buy 2 books and play a game.
You could do that with the original. You could do it with the storyteller's guide, and you could do it with the player's guide. You could tell a story with that. No. Then they just
You
came up
didn't have to follow meta plot.
Yeah. Now they have an army of books just like they had in the first one, so they lied to themselves and to us.
Yeah, well. Anywho. The imprints for table... I'm going to do LARP and Tabletop for the same ones at the same time. We're starting with Straight World of Darkness, also known as Mortals. This venue provided the basic framework for NWAD. It was the book that had all of the stats, like attributes, skills.
Let's go with vanilla.
Yeah, it's vanilla.
Because
It had your own-
has
Yeah.
other implications.
It had the combat splats.
Yeah. Books published in this line focused on mortals in the world of darkness, such as psychics, human thaumaturges, mediums, and even children in one case, which is my honest-to-God favorite NY book. Innocence is the bomb. Seriously, play a game of Innocence.
And there were some books that were kind of different, like Changing Breeds is technically a book, rather than a subset of books.
Right. And then in the LARP version, there was a short-lived Mortals venue in the Camarilla MES. It did not last terribly long, but it was... And actually, World of Darkness was one of the only 3 books to actually be published in a straight LARP version for N1.
Yep.
Alright, so let's talk about vanilla.
May I make a request? When it comes to LARP,
Sure.
can we talk about the ability to do independent games instead of just talking about the Camarilla / Mind's Eye, whatever their name is now?
Mind's Eye Society.
My bad.
We can definitely do that if you'd like to talk about that. I don't know much about that aspect because I was never in an independent game.
The only reason I bring that up is there are definite differences in trying to do an independent LARP as opposed to what the Mind's Eye Society offers with its
And-
I object. There is no other game than the Mind's Eye Society game.
And let's keep
See, unfortunately, there are people that actually think like that.
I'd like to keep that conversation kind of short, just because basically we're talking about here, whereas the difference between an independent versus a larger organization LARP is sort of a very long, protracted conversation that can be handled in a different episode rather than.
I only mean as it relates to classic New Wad, as opposed to getting into the actual. No, you can only have an independent LARP because they're right.
That guy's totally leaving to go do his other thing, and he's still trying to like program shows, future
And
use, future
yes.
use.
Tell us what to do, like we're gonna listen to him.
Anyways, so
I'm
vanilla,
still running this show.
vanilla World of Darkness, folks.
Vanilla classic in
For
Am
vanilla,
I saying it right now?
Yeah.
vanilla,
Classic New World of Darkness.
After New World of Darkness first edition.
I think
That works better.
I think that's
So
better.
Okay.
vanilla N1 first.
Yep.
As was already brought up, we had a couple of different areas you could go. You could do the human. Say again.
It was doing her thing.
She was done, and then
Yeah,
turned it over
we're-
to us to talk.
We're talking about just the plain N1. I'm not starting on anything else yet.
So,
Remember, I do the summary and then we
As
talk about it.
as Anne had brought up in her summary, there are the innocents, which is playing children in just the standard vanilla version. There are psychics. There are ways to do hunting supernaturals, as the classic core blue N1 book did give generalized stats for fighting for supernatural creatures if you wanted to fight them.
Wasn't the Dogs of War, wasn't that a blue book as well?
Yes,
So there's
yes,
the
it
military,
was.
military aspect of
I promise you I'm getting to that one, because that one,
it wasn't mentioned, so that's why I wanted to bring it up.
okay. The rules for playing anything that had just slight supernatural powers that didn't go into having your own race, for lack of a better word, vampire, werewolf, yada yada. And yes, they had a book that focused solely on playing a character who was either still in the military or had military experience. And this could be applied to any of their other books. You can be a vampire or werewolf in the military, or who had military experience. Or you could just play a straight military game if you so chose, which previously in classic
Classic N1.
right,
Classic
in
Warhammer,
just
yes.
classic O1, White Wolf had stayed away from the military as much as they could.
They stayed away from mortals pretty much too.
Except for every group had their human. The Project Twilight for werewolf hunters.
Yeah, but-
you had your. Anytime mortals were brought up, they were only hunting supernaturals. But the ability to play pretty much anything. They even had a book, since we brought up the military. They had a book focused solely on being a police officer.
Assault on Precinct or was it?
Tales of
Tales
Precinct.
of 13th Precinct.
Which I like.
And they had a book, which was one of my personal favorites, focused solely on psychology in the classic vanilla new,
N1 first edition.
classic vanilla new one first
Just
edition.
say New One first edition.
New one first. Dagnabbit.
One ed.
They focused on. They tried to get as gritty as they could, and while adding in supernatural elements, even though it was the vanilla, it wasn't any of the later editions. they kept it supernatural yet gritty at the same time. The Tales of the 13th Precinct was actually really amazingly well done. I'm a fan of the grittiness that New Wad delivered on.
Going off that, so two of my favorite books is one of them is Dog's Forks, I think it does a good job, and the other one's Book of Spirits, which is a really good blue book.
I forgot Book of Spirits was blue.
And it expanded off of Forsaken, their description of the spirit world, the world of darkness, which I really like their comparison to the Owad, Umbra, mostly because the whole concept behind the New Wad spirit world is it's predatory. It is the law of the jungle abstracted to its kind of most vicious form. Ideas, things, everything fights for existence.
Now, quickly say, I'm Bob Dole.
So what do you think of the class of in one? Just the mortals.
Just
The blue books.
so like I said, in the last show, gothic horror isn't my real wheelhouse. My passion. I can enjoy it if I try, but I don't necessarily enjoy it all the time. So one of the things that I liked about New Wad was the ability for the game to be a toolkit. You didn't have to be gothic horror. You could be high adventure in a modern setting. You could do tomb raiding. You could be Laura Croft if you wanted to be. You could do a total James Bond game. Police officers. You didn't have to run around being a vampire.
World of Darkness, the spying.
What?
Well, you said you could play a spy, and now I just honestly have in my mind now, World of Darkness, the spying. I would really like to try a game like
Spies the Intrigue.
Spies the Intrigue, and that new Jason Statham / random white woman movie would be perfect for concepts for that.
That actually, to bring up something that I just remember I bought it on sale, World of Darkness Mirrors was actually decent.
It's a lot of
It's alternate settings for the World of Darkness.
It's like a lot of psychopaths and stuff there too.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's also the Blue Book Wad Slasher, which is in fact dedicated to making Jason / Freddy Krueger type
There's
antagonists.
an artifact out of that book called the Bloody Mirror, or the Bloody Mirror, or something like that. That at every time we had to give away an item or regional item in the Camarilla for RMES, they always gave us that thing, because apparently whenever you used it, you had like a high percentage of being possessed by the serial killer that would use the mirror last.
It was called the Blood-Backed Mirror.
Blood-Backed Mirror, yeah.
Because we actually auctioned off one for a shit ton of money one year.
Okay.
For charity.
You could use it to scry or get information about remote locations, but the more you use it, the more you had a chance of becoming like a psychopath.
Like
Like
all
being-
of the cursed 2nd edition D&D magic items of Jubilex.
So Fate just did nothing to him. He was already a psychopath. He was already there. It's like,
He probably made one.
Did he actually win that, or did you? Who won
For
the
those who
Fairy
don't-
Wars?
For those who don't know, Fate is a character from a LARP we played in Chronicles ago, who, yes, was a not just psychopath, but insane and terribly fun to play with.
Oh god, yes, love
Okay,
playing
so
Fairy
that was gonna
great player.
Wars. Go ahead. Finish your train of thought. Sorry.
But anyway, so without adding any additional splats to the game, World of Darkness, Mortals, Blue Book, whatever you want to call it, Vanilla, First Ed, whatever,
Vanilla First Ed.
was a good toolkit, and that's what the whole purpose of the books were, would be a toolkit. And so they started adding splats in. So you got vampire splat, and you got the werewolf splat, and you got the mage splat, and you got the changeling splat.
Would you be a favor, please, and define what you mean? I've heard splat is various things.
Splat book, or splat book refers to a particular. So vampire is a splat book. Splat
It basically means template.
means template. It's just a word for saying.
So
And the reason they
splat
call
is a template.
the reason they call them splat books is just a huge, wide, flimsy books you can squash them. You can splat something with them.
I've heard splat defined as the meta plot books, the books that focus solely on the meta plot from OWAD.
Yeah.
I've heard those called splat books, so
Well,
that's where I'm getting.
The term.
I got confused.
Yeah, the term carried over. The term carried over, and it was because the splat books from OWAD and the splat books from D&D were usually like the flimsy books you could roll up and use to smack.
Or accidentally open someone's Slavery Clan book too much and 15 of the pages fly out on you on my couch.
I opened it one time.
Yes, I know, you opened it once and 15 pages decided, now we're going to break because we're a splat book and our bindings are boring.
White Wolf had notoriously bad binding technology.
Used to. I will state their newer books seem to be well constructed. I don't know if that carries over to Onyx Path or not. But the books are certainly not as flimsy and splatty.
Onyx Path and DNS to use print on demand. But Drive-Thru RPGs doing their production.
I know that guy has used Drive-Thru.
Yeah.
They're print on demand. How sturdy are they?
I've had no problem with the soft covers. They've done pretty well. I will say, for soft cover and hardcover, the problem is it's basically like they photocopied the pages and then bound them together. So some pages are bound a little too close, and so you lose art or you'll lose a little bit of lettering. It's kind of annoying, but for its price point and for the fact that you get the physical copy of the book rather than a digital one, it's better than trying to find it at like a used bookstore.
One of the continuations of the Blue Book that I really liked, which Anne mentioned briefly, was World of Darkness Innocence, which allowed you to play a child or an adolescent in World of Darkness, which was fun.
Which is very similar to the OWAD Changeling, the way it was presented, with banality being the enemy, growing up being bad, because once you become an adult, you kind of lose the innocence abilities.
You didn't truly have like the supernatural abilities, other than the things that you kind of associate with humans who are really good at doing something, are superb at their tasks. You might describe them as being superhuman,
right?
But there wasn't any like supernatural like I'm a mage, I'm awakened at 5 and I'm blowing the world up.
But there were magic items you could get.
They weren't magic items. They were items that were imbued with some kind of influence. So like your lucky tennis shoes, they weren't necessarily magic, but they gave you a psychological bonus to complete tasks.
Oh. It was explained different to me before. I thought they were powered by the honest, childlike faith of
that's the point,
that they existed. Instead of it being psychological, it actually has a spark of supernatural.
It's not described in the scientific means like, hey, this is a psychological boost. It's the idea that you were safer dragging around your security blanket because it made you feel safe. And so feeling safe made you safe.
And gave you a slight armor bonus or whatever. I do know that trying to, unfortunately, play an innocent in a new WAD LARP would be next to impossible. The stats they give in Innocence, if you are an 8-year-old with a strength 5, that you paid your 5 points for it, you have your strength of 5, but the way it's described, for an adult, that strength of 5 only counts as a 3, so that you would literally have to do a weird conversion every time an innocent interacted with someone else.
If you make it essentially a template, then you just cap their abilities. No, instead of being capped at 5, you're capped at 3.
And you would spend double points to buy out.
And when you hit, 14, you're no longer... Can you tell us the benefit? I'm asking Uncle Stewie this. Innocence, again, as he mentioned, was his favorite. Can you tell us the, I guess... Mages have spheres, vampires have blood and disciplines. What do innocents have?
Good question.
I don't remember the actual term for it. Yeah.
They do have stuff, though, I take it. They're not just
Was it
vanilla human.
I think it was... I want to say it was Innocence.
Yeah.
But I don't... No, so there's Innocence, INNOCENTS, which is the name of the book.
The T. Okay.
But I think it was Innocence, CENCE, that was your ability to fight off banality or...
And were they able to use this to fuel special abilities?
I don't think so.
I think it's probably just
I'm gonna have to get the book again because I haven't played it in forever, but it was one of my favorite ways to play World of Darkness. And you know, most people here won't know this about me, so I'm gonna explain this while listening. I love to tell stories, but I don't like to tell mechanics. And so, a lot of the times when I was storytelling, I would have an assistant who was my mechanics person because I would go off the reservation and just say, "This was freaking awesome, let's do it again." And then someone would have to say, "Well, can we apply new rules to that?" Sure, if you want to.
When it came to D20, typically the rules fell to me. When it came to the new WAD stuff, the rules I don't know as well. Especially the Innocence. I know the book, but I don't really know it that well. I've heard people say great things about it, though.
Well, I read through most of the Splat books for the flavor text, but totally avoided the mechanics sections other than the descriptions of the powers. Not exactly how they were pulled. So I'd have like this really awesome like layout of powers on my sheet and none of the supporting mechanical stats to actually make them work right.
Or sometimes use the description of the power instead of what the power actually does.
Hush.
It would please me greatly if everyone here said come back.
Hey, the ruling stood, and I wasn't the storyteller, so I'm gonna go with it.
Grumble, grumble.
Hey, just
Okay,
because you
but-
couldn't murder face a bunch of...
I was apparently way too drunk at this game, so what the...
Uncle Stewie used Sovereignty, Majesty 5, to make a bunch of people sit around and hold hands and sing Kumbaya as if it were dominating.
Oh, I remember that now.
It wasn't that you didn't use it as it was dominating. It said the description of power says no one is able to take an action which the wielder of the power would find offensive or threatening.
And having spoken with the storyteller about this, his exact comment was, "He did what? No, that's not how that works."
But it's still, well, no, because we had two storytellers. We had a marshal and a storyteller. The marshal agreed with it. He said, "Let it roll." Cool.
Marshal.
Well, it's just ABST.
Okay. You've been using Marshal for 2 weeks now. I've never heard that term before, so
Basically,
it's an assistant storyteller.
Assistant storyteller.
Okay.
So I would just like to point out, I would stand by this. It was hilarious image of my wife's man-hating, animal-loving, bitch of a woman character. I want to say character after that.
I remember her.
Singing Kumbaya with her two. What did she have?
She doesn't
Cougars.
No, it's Bobcats.
Bobcats.
Bobcats. What she got for singing Kumbaya with the Bobcat. The Bobcats are,
They were there, as was the biker/computer hacker Jack Daniels,
And a whole biker bang of drug-dealing bun natives.
as was my Marine Corps scout sniper with a horrendously bad southern accent, as was a Russian assassin.
Svetlana.
I believe those are the only people that were there for
Jamie
Kumbaya. You weren't singing though.
No, I
I'm
wasn't
talking about
singing.
the people that were holding hands singing.
Yeah, all the assassins and the pacifists is like, I like this. Keep it up.
Was Imperator Hill there?
No, Jared's character was.
Which one?
I'm trying to just stay away
Jay's
from
character.
names.
Jay's character was. No. Wait, what?
He scooted it, and I was resting on it.
Alright.
But when it comes to Blue Books, as you can tell from our myriad of stories, you can tell just about any story. As Uncle Stewie mentioned, it's a wonderful toolbox, and you can tell just through a combination of a few select books from the Blue Book series, you could tell any damn story you wanted.
Okay.
And just about, and please correct me if I'm wrong, in just about any time period, yes?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Because anything from ancient Rome to modern nice to
You just have to read basically.
Future use.
Alright, obviously,
Yes.
really.
That was World of Darkness very sensitive.
Okay, they did have an actual rule book for futuristic stuff.
Kind of. But
Alright, going on.
We obviously love vanilla wines, but we have other stuff to talk about.
We do.
And now we're getting on to some of the splat books, as we say. First up is good old Vampire the Requiem. A much more simplified game than its forebear, Vampire the Masquerade. The clans were cut from 13 to 5, with the option to play a rare bloodline if you really needed your cheese. Political factions called covenants were added to allow players to explore other allegiances outside the clan.
That weren't always in open warfare.
Yeah. And there was no meta plot outside the basic history of the world, and the clan or covenants on world. Oh, there was shit in the cold. And this was also, when it going to the LARP, this was also one of the 3 books that actually made it to a LARP edition versus just a tabletop edition used as LARP.
Mind's Eyes Theater, the Vampire the Fragments, a nice little red book, which for those at home, there is red book, blue book, and mage. Mage is a light blue color.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a light blue.
that's right. Changeling was green.
Yeah.
It's
Changeling should have gotten one.
Vampire the Requiem.
Anyway.
Alrighty, so Vampire the Requiem, here we go.
First and foremost, because it needs to be said, I love Latin, I love Rome and the history of Rome, and the first bit of meta plot New WoD got, period, was for Vampire, and was called Requiem for Rome and Fall of Camarilla, which were essentially a setting book for Rome, and then a chronicle taking place in Rome, which were beautifully done, well written. They captured the flavor and flair of Rome so beautifully. I really liked it, but I'm apparently like one of the only people in the world that like Requiem for Rome and Fall of Camarilla, because Anna's rolling her eyes at me.
I'm rolling my eyes because of the introduction of the Strix, which annoyed that crap out of me. Oh, no, that's actually.
I was trying to be.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. The introduction of the Strix annoyed the crap, and that one rare bloodline that only had 2 people.
Yeah, Julia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That,
Okay.
so much cheese made my head explode.
Anne's issue with Requiem for Rome and Fall of Camarilla comes from her extensive experience in Mind's Eye Society, where Requiem for Rome was used improperly as the Strix she brought up. Yes, they're a bad guy, yes, they're an enemy that can be used in modern day. However, in the Camarilla, they had 12 different incarnations, rules worked differently on them in different times, and
they were never.
She got a bad dose of some Requiem for Rome, and it shows, much like my now hatred for Bree.
The Strix were never handled consistently. They were always the big bad, and it just got tiresome.
Well, them and 7.
And owls suck. Like, seriously. It got to where my character, like, anytime she saw an owl, like, because the storyteller would always mention, oh, by the way, there's an owl, I'm gonna shoot it. Just on general principles, I'm gonna shoot it.
Could be a Strix.
I actually had owl spirits start showing up in game just because of how much the Strix had been used to teach people that not all owl-looking things were bad guys.
But, I don't know, my favorite part of Requiem...
What is if Uncle Stewie has an opinion, I can tell by the look on his face.
Oh, wait.
I believe we're moving away from Requiem for Rome, Fall of Camarilla. If you do not give your opinion now, however.
Oh, were we?
Yeah, because I was getting ready to go.
That guy
my
was
favorite
about
part.
to go.
My favorite part.
So, about a year before, no, about 2 years before Requiem for Rome, Fall of Camarilla, like, it was right after the Red Book released for LARP, when we started playing LARP games. I actually wrote about the custom bloodline write-up for a group of friends of mine that we were wanting to try and get approved, called Paterfamilias, which is basically an ancient Maquette bloodline, basically subjugated by the Roman Empire in northern Africa. But and so basically part of the bloodline was there were Maquette vampires who were basically had been commandeered into the Roman legions, and they basically became, really effective soldiers. They became really effective soldiers, so they developed special squad combat mechanics and tactics. And so one of their things was like, Velumvox, the voice of war. They could actually make themselves heard over every other voice on the combat field. So when they had to issue orders to someone else, basically it was almost like the Harry Potter spell Sonorous, right? Where they
could talk loud.
Yeah, they could talk loud. So that was their first level ability, was basically talk over everyone else in the battlefield, or to silence a vocal enemy. And then using the ability of the Maquette to have obfuscate, they had the ability to basically perform advanced flanking maneuvers undetected. And so they could basically move an entire. You had 3 paterfamilias together. You could move almost an entire squad of soldiers in a flank around an enemy, as long as they were working together. And it was a very simple combo of discipline. But anyway,
I was waiting for.
I'm getting this weird look.
I was trying not to distract you.
Well, that was the start.
Great,
Anyway,
so go on.
and so then they had like, so then they had the advantage of the ability to empower a battalion banner or a Fenley's banner to add morale bonuses and or the willpower check bonuses to anyone fighting under the same banner. And so, anyways, we wrote this all up. We even made it look like it came out of a splat book. We had like the decorative borders. We had like nice watermark pages, like artwork and stuff, like battlefields. And I sent it up and I said, "Well, we can't do this." I was like, "Why?" And that was the only. It's too close to another property. We can't do it yet, or we can't do it. I was like, "Okay." And so basically, when the book for that came out, it had all the ancient Roman bloodlines and stuff. And so I was like, "Oh, well, that's why they rejected it." Apparently, someone had gotten advanced preview copies of, it was too close to the property. And so we never got to play our pattern believers.
Sucks.
I understand why they did it.
Out of curiosity, how do you feel about Requiem for Rome on Camarilla?
I feel like it robbed me.
Other than this awesome bloodline you wrote up, you didn't actually mention
I was getting there.
sources.
But the question is, I think it robbed me of being able to play something cool. And me being me, I hardly ever went up for an approval. In fact, the only approvals I ever got were at the end of a chronicle.
Approvals, by the way, are things you have to get signed in a global LARP that kind of enforce
The
power levels across
The entire
across the
game
world.
Yeah.
Some people are known for going for thousands of approvals, while Uncle Stewie, I've seen his character sheets, really didn't
Are
ask
horrible.
for many. I wasn't gonna state that, but yes, his characters suck. He's a horrible, horrible person and should lose his role-playing card. What?
No, I mean,
What do you mean they're horrible?
because I don't build mechanically founded sheets. All my sheets are based on what I think the guy should act like, not what I think his power set should be. So I felt, like I mentioned last time, I've had storytellers offer to correct my sheet for me. I'm like, no.
We've all been over this. I agree that your character should match the personality you're playing. It shouldn't be my sheet of paper can beat up your sheet of paper. However, Uncle Stewie really never did go up for a lot of approvals. Knowing that he wrote an entire bloodline himself and sent it up for approval is honestly pretty exciting. I kind of want to run a tabletop game just for him so he can play his paterfamilias now.
So, that you were saying,
The next thing about Red Book.
Okay, so my favorite part from Vampire Requiem was actually the clan books, the detail they went into each clan, and so the idea that's presented, if you kind of start reading them, is that most of the kindred of Nuad are not actually one species that's branched out. It's actually 5 different species that became at the same point in evolution.
I know the Nos clan book specifically goes into that very well.
Maquette hints at it, Gangrel hints at it, Venture pretty much outright says it.
Gangrel goes in like this ridiculously long and invasive story of Lilith and the mother of monsters.
Yes, true. Not my favorite one out of that one. My favorite one is actually for the Roman period, where they actually hint at the Gangrel, not hint, they actually outright state in that version, Gangrel or Offshoot Adventure, that have, I think, got bit by beast men from the north. It is a very interesting story, but it is ludicrous in concept.
Okay, but the Nos were worms from underneath the earth that learned to feed on blood and take human shape. Just stating.
See, this is my problem with the clan books that came out. This is starting a LARP from scratch. Is by the time all of these clan books came out, we all had our ideas set in stone of what the clans were already, and then they added all this new information. It was like,
yeah,
this is not the clan I'm playing.
But as a side note, and again, you're letting your experiences from the bar flavor how you view the property.
No, even then, even if you weren't playing an alarm, you were playing a tabletop group, and all you had was the basic
'Cause I played
archetype
tabletop
descriptions
too.
from the Red Splat book. You played according to the Red Splat book. There was no detail. And so, like, Order Dracul from the Red Splat book was like, ooh, we're all like old world vampires, blah, 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 blah. And then the Order Dracul Red Velvet Sex book comes out, you're like, oh, this is nothing like anyone's ever been playing the game before.
And I get that. And people running games prior to a book coming out, if you've already got everything set up, play what you've got set up. But once the books came out and new games then start from there, how would you view these books then? When you have access to the information and it doesn't screw a character you've already been playing.
In reference to the Order Dracul Red Velvety Sex book, I would say superfluously velvety.
By the way, just so everyone knows, that book is actually titled Rights of the Dragon.
It is.
And seriously, it did have a red velvet cover and looked like it should have been in a whorehouse.
It was like the brothel menu guide. I don't know. Like, because you go into some brothels in like Amsterdam, they'll have like
A
these.
lot of experience on this, I'm just saying.
But I've watched documentaries about it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And some of them will have menu books, right? And like, what's a French tickle and a 2-finger penetration gonna cost? $75. But it's in like these, they're like these little nice.
So just from watching that documentary once, you have the prices memorized now.
Side
I've seriously never been to Amsterdam.
Just pass.
Although now I'm not taking him.
Just pass.
See? You screwed yourself.
I'll be right back, and I'm gonna go see the sights. You stay here at the
That
hotel.
business trip to Germany he took, we know where he really was.
This is a total red light district coffee shop.
Wow.
See, now, anytime someone mentions Amsterdam, I just think of 2 random white kids in a brownie shop taking their clothes off and getting yelled at by the Jamaican. There's no pot in those brownies! Put your shirt on, white boy!
These are not ash brownies.
Simple,
I
but
wonder why
anyway.
the Amsterdamian Rastafarian.
Amsterdamian? Is that really the word?
Amsterdamish.
Amsterdamanites?
I kind of like
Amsterdamite.
Amsterdamish better.
Amsterdami?
Amsterdam.
We're getting way off course.
Yeah. And back to it.
When it comes to the clan books, and I assume that guy is also, since Order of Dracul was brought in, is also including the Covenant books?
The Covenant books, I have some things about, like, in terms of overall power, some are a little OP.
So the answer would be no, just talking about clan books.
Yeah, they weren't my
He did,
favorite. They weren't my favorite thing, but there are something I'd like to discuss about.
he did hint on something about the vampires coming from different starting points, which, after playing OWAD, knowing that all vampires came from Cain, knowing the entire creation story and everything involved in it, no mystery at all ever allowed to be in it, to then New WAD, where you have some questions about where vampires came from. You can make the character who tries to uncover these things and it be new, because there isn't an answer. Every time, you can play this character in every game. Every vampire game you're in, you can make the guy who wants to find out where vampires came from. And every story, you can get a different answer.
That's actually part of
I like this fact.
World of Darkness mythology.
Yeah.
Why? Oh yes, it came out along with the blood.
Was actually, I think, a really good deal that it brought Origins version, I think, with multiple different types of creatures, and brought this whole idea of where did the World of Darkness begin?
Mythology is just vampire.
Is it?
It's just a red book.
Was that just a red book?
But it gives you various stories that vampires tell each other as to where they came
It's
from.
still a good book.
It's beautiful.
If you're a storyteller and you're running a party again,
Well, the Covenant books, I will say, I think the Covenant books ruin some things. And I will say this because I have played both tabletop and LARP in this. And the simple fact of the matter is, with, especially in regards to Invictus and Carthian, the big thing about Invictus and Carthian,
Yes, Uncle Stewie, the 2 things you like to play are wrong, and you can never play them again.
no, I was actually going to say I like them better.
I was just making a face because we have a viewer from Brazil.
Nifty!
what up?
Hey, Brazil.
Brazilian rules rock.
I was gonna say that's the Brazilian rule.
Out of curiosity, person from Brazil, have you ever played in Mind's Eye Society? And if so, never mind, I'm not going to ask the rest of that question.
Did you play Brazil?
Do you know anyone who played Brazilian rules?
But
as I was
the
saying,
username is Eminem. Fuck you.
nice to meet you, Eminem. It's great to hear from Brazil.
Holla.
Anywho,
Stay strapped, homie.
in the original Red Book, when they had the Covenant basics put out, they made a point of saying that choosing to be Invictus or Carthian meant you were deliberately choosing not to be magical.
Not to be
Magical.
magical. Okay.
You're my
You are
So
exchanging.
magic comes from the other 3 covenants.
You're exchanging your ability to be magical for your ability to affect change in the mortal world, basically. And my
Which
problem is,
money is a magic.
yeah,
as we've been over.
totally. But the problem with the Covenant books is it changed that. Because then you brought in Parthian law and Invictus Oaths. So now you have magic in all 5 covenants, and that really pissed me off.
I feel like
It pissed you off that they were given these things to make them more on even footing, or it pissed you off because you were told one thing and got another?
It pissed me off because I actually enjoyed being hard to make a choice whether you wanted to be magic foo or a real world influencer.
Why not both?
I disagree with Anna a little bit. I actually like them conceptually, but I don't like them mechanically. I think mechanically they're a little bit overpowered. Conceptually, I like them because Invictus Oaths were about contracts. You made a deal. You had to honor that bargain, or at least try to honor that bargain, or there would be consequences. And Carthian law was literally magical law that was enforced by people watching it. And if the law decided you couldn't do this,
It was
you couldn't do it.
what it was enforced by is up for debate. Whether it was people watching or it was supernatural,
It was
psycho.
it was left up in the air as to whether it actually was, but we'll say magical for convenience sake.
I like to think, because we all know that I like Carthians. At least the people
Yes,
that say we
God,
don't like
we know.
Carthians.
And the fact that during our OWOD conversation you divulged how much you like Carthians for like 10 minutes. We know Carthians are your thing.
I love the Carthians.
Hey,
But-
Uncle Stewie, do you like Carthians?
Yes.
That is the goofiest grin I have ever seen on his face, guys. In case y'all can't see it,
So
this man loves his Carthians.
I like to think that Carthian law is derivative of Careworldly law from Geist, in the sense that if you have a Carthian domain, similar as you have an underworld domain run by the Careworld, the old laws and Dominion laws are enforced. If you have a Carthian Dominion and a freehold, which means it's wholly controlled by Carthians, fuck the Invictus, fuck the everyone else, they can live there, but they have to follow your rules. In the sense that I always interpreted it as being a supernatural influence power.
That's how I viewed it. Was supernatural.
And so your laws of Elysium are not only enforced by the Keeper, they're also enforced by the dictates of the environment. So, some of the things in the Kraken law, like the ability to suppress willpower usage and stuff like that in combat, if someone's breaking the law, it has to have a supernatural base. And how else are you going to say, you're making bad decisions?
And I agree, and getting to what Ann said, unfortunately, much like that guy, I'm going to have to disagree. The ability to have various magical powers, each situated. Vampires are supernatural creatures. I'm sorry, they are. So, giving Carthians Carthian law and Invictus their oaths to match with the Ordo Dracul super science, the Christ-based powers of the Lancia Sanctum, and the every other religion-based powers of the Crone, and then giving them all 5 the ability to influence mortals as pawns, makes more sense to me than, yes, I'm a vampire, no, there's nothing supernatural about me. Oh wait, other than my blood, my feeding, my disciplines, and they're gonna be supernatural, so giving them all a flavor of supernatural power by covenant, I kind of like.
So there are some things that make the powers either stronger or weaker in their spheres of influence against other vampires. One of the things is Carthian law, once decided, had to be published. So once you mandated the law, they had to be visible and published for everyone to follow. You couldn't just say new Carthian law and then that night
screw over everybody.
Because I remember when we first started playing in a cam game. I'm gonna say cam game because it's not like it's an independent game. I was playing a character called Devlin Amare, who was kind of a complete Fruit Loop, and he was the Keeper of Elysium at the beginning of the Chronicle. And there was actually a whole kind of ruling that people decided after playing with us for a while, because as Keeper of Elysium, there was no defined law about in the Red Book about Elysium being a permanent topic. It wasn't permanent. Your location wasn't permanent. You could change Elysium from location to location.
Right. And have multiples.
Elysium all.
So I had a sign made for the Elysium. You could pull the rope, Elysium off.
There's a neon sign in our Elysium that said Elysium on, Elysium off. I kid you not.
Now,
because the Elysium was hosted in a building that my character owned. It was a giant hotel resort casino, and it was on the 13th floor. The elevator would go from 12 to 14, and you had to have a key card to get off on the 13th. And so you could get off. Well, I had all this, the rest of the hotel was built to code, blah, 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 it has to be. But the 13th floor, all the sprinkler systems were hooked to reservoirs of gasoline on the roof. So if I ever decided to just burn the whole place down and to bug out, I was like, Elysium off.
Now, all I was going to add to this, since Uncle Scooby's stories are more Carthian based, the other covenants and their okay, I said his stories are Carthian based, not his characters are all Carthian. The balance between oaths for the Invictus, Carthian law for the Carthians, and the various other supernatural powers, do y'all feel that these are balanced or not? Because it was hinted at that some of you feel they might not be balanced. But I'm kind of curious why you feel they're not.
The oaths are a lot of, how can I skirt around
Now,
the exact
wait.
wording?
Before you give your answer, this needs to be stated. Based on the books only, not on rulings from Mind's Eye Society, because we all know they've kind of screwed the pooch and gone away from just book rules.
It's a straight up book. Because
Okay, just book rules.
Just straight up book. Like with an oath, basically, yeah, you can pretty much say, hey, I'm going to not do this thing. You can totally do that thing as long as you do it just the right way that doesn't violate.
But isn't that the point of a devilish contract? Is being able to skirt around it?
It is, but it's still not honest, in my opinion. Like, because just for game mechanics and game balance and interacting with players, especially people.
The Invictus oaths were very much about the letter of the law,
Yeah.
not the spirit of the law.
Which is something I actually liked about them is a devilish contract. In any story you read, Faust, the point of them is to get around the wording of it.
Yeah,
And vampires are, at their core, evil creatures, much like making a deal with the devil.
I disagree with that statement. They don't have to be evil creatures.
morally ambiguous, but
They don't have to be morally ambiguous because you have a morality scale ranging from 1 to 10.
But your morality is based not on human standards, on vampiric standards.
Not because...
Yes.
No. Because the average human is morality 7.
Morality, whereas vampires are what?
humanity.
Man.
Meaning their entire ethos is not based on being human.
They're actually
It's based on being a vampire.
the standards are identical.
Yes.
I thought they switched at the higher
No,
level.
they
changed it.
Their behavioral limits are the same. So,
Oh.
cold-blooded murder, morality 1, is the same for human and vampire.
So
Not having a
humanity and morality are
no selfish
identical?
thoughts.
They're identical. They're just different ones.
Yeah, no selfish thoughts and no blah blah blah. Humanity 10, morality 10.
You think of something like harmony, which is completely different.
What's the mages get morality, right?
They get wisdom. There's actually tag on.
That's
If
right,
You get
they
stuff
are
gets
wisdom.
tagged on. There's actually nothing really changed.
Anyway.
As much as we love, obviously, the vampires, we've got to actually move on at some
Oh,
point.
so do you have something else to add to the vampire portion
No,
of this
I don't
conversation?
really like vampire.
Oh,
He was
that's
making
all.
a comment for as much as we love the vampires.
I will say this little ending statement from the guy who plays Anarch characters and then played a Carthian character. Carthians incorporate a lot of the Anarch movement when they were written, and I actually like them, the Carthians, a little bit better because if you're playing Anarch, you have to pretty much accept Anarchist theory to a large extent. And while I can appreciate aspects of Anarchist theory, applying to a large scale really doesn't work. But at Carthian, you didn't have to be an anarchist.
They had many different view types, including pirate democracy.
You could actually be a part of any.
Communism.
You could be.
Wait, really?
Yes.
There were commie Carthians?
Yes, it's actually on.
Carthy commie?
They're monarchists.
Yes.
Monarchist?
Yeah.
Basically, it was
That
just
seems an Invictus thing.
It was kind of similar, but you could be a part of any socio-political ideology and be a Carthian.
I thought they were socio-politicals that focused on freedom only.
There were individualists, there were moderates, and then there were
You
collectivists.
just had to have an ideal and a devotion to a grand experiment to be a Carthian.
Pretty much.
Well, see, just that term, grand experiment, that's why I don't see monarchist as a Carthian thing. If it's just me, I'm
Constitutional
dera-
monarchies.
derailing.
One of
And
the
I
ideas
apologize.
behind the monarchists was to see, part of your experiment was to see what drove people to follow the monotheistic rule or the mononuclear rule of a king or a queen. Why would someone subject themselves to that?
Or
Okay.
How do you, or what effect do you have on free will as a single voice of government?
you could also
I can see that
You
then.
could also be experimenting with the idea of Plato's Republic. There's more true interpretation of that from the book, where it's, yes, you're a monarch, you're in charge, but you really don't want to be in charge and you're concerned with the goodness of all.
So, and I like I played the pacifist outside angle Carthian. I really like the oligarch Carthians, the guys who rule by money alone.
Because money is a superpower and don't let anyone ever tell you different.
Wealth is power, right?
6 Arcana, baby.
11.
11. What's it 11?
Because there's 10 arcane.
Whatever.
And money is the 11.
Mage sucks. Anyway. We'll get to my opinions on Mage in a minute or two.
Alright.
Yeah, well, your mom dresses you funny. What?
Alright, moving on.
Alright.
You too? Because. Alright.
Okay, apparently we're taking a
Break.
break because everybody has bladders the size of peas.
No, don't go my turn.
No, I'm stepping outside to smoke while you do your turn.
Oh my god.
To in the median, in the time in between, we present you with littering and
littering and.
littering and.
Or, I'd like some litter guy and then. I'm actually pausing the recording at this point, so I'm not to go much of editing.
Okay.
But everyone else gets to listen to our lives.
Because I want to get all the way through to, like, Accord. Because I really want to talk about Accord. Because that's the one LARP video I really like right now, still.
Did you see the post I put on Amanda's Facebook page of the Iron Panda?
Yes, I loved the Iron Panda. That was cute.
No, I won't kill it.
Oh, you couldn't kill anything so cute and cuddly and armored.
Yes, I can. Tell her that where Panda is an existential threat for some time now.
I'm loving my werewolf mercy thing. Because I have a little fun with it. Again, a more simplified game, only 5 basic tribes. The history is different, much darker than Apocalypse, with a much heavier emphasis on the spirit realm. The 5 auspices were also renamed and modified. And yes, the acronym for this game is funny because we're all 12.
What the fuck? Wasn't that how some of the shirts were produced too?
Yes.
With WTF question mark. It did.
So got What the Fuck, Mage the Awakening, Promethean, Hunter of the Vigil, Mummy the Curse, and then Changeling, or then, Geist, Changeling, Geist, and then Inwad combined.
That's what.
Geist, the spirit count.
Geist, okay.
Werewolf, the spirit cop. Guys, the spirit cop.
Ghost cop.
Ghost cop. That sounds like a bad Schwarzenegger movie.
I think that actually is a movie. Ghost cop.
Werewolf the Forsaken is next. Sorry, that's just like
Beetlegeist.
Oh yeah, I guess I did have a splinter. Well, I sort of thought I had a splinter. Looks like it's trying to come out now. Ow! I didn't say I needed it out right now.
You get me a needle, I'll get it up for you.
I'm good, thanks. It'll just work its way on, so.
You gotta get it back in your finger, will fall off.
Then I can claim disability because I went under Woo!
A finger doesn't count for disability. Unless you're a professional masturbator.
I work in a deli. Losing a finger is terrible.
Now I'm worried that working in a deli is synonymous with a professional masturbator.
Hey, door.
Oh, you thought of it.
What is that in the ambrosia salad?
Okay.
What is the secret sauce?
Saucy.
It tastes of pork. I mean, it's fresh.
It's proteinated. Would you be willing to give me a glass of water? I have a tumbler on the purpose now, next to the drying rack.
Oh, it's crackers and cheese.
Crackers and cheese. One meat.
Okay.
Yeah, people put Bogart in the tray.
Red welcome to. Apparently at some point I set the camera to 640 by 480.
Oh.
So now I have fixed it. It's now 1024 by 768.
So apparently there will be a fifth Murderhobo film.
Really?
On
Yes.
purpose?
Kate Beckinsale is to return for it.
Jesus, why?
White Wolf gonna get more money.
White Wolf need more money.
Actually, CCP gonna get more money.
Mr. Keeley once said that like on his Facebook page, if I had gotten royalties for that movie, I'd never have to pay it. It was like something I'd never have to write again or something like that. If I'd gotten the royalties for that movie, I'd never have to write again. To paraphrase.
Okay, this is just fucking retarded. It's the same fucking plot from the first film. The plot is said to focus on a new, younger generation of vampires and werewolves who are locked in a seemingly never-ending battle between supernatural races. Is that not the plot of the first fucking film?
Yes, but this time they won't be carving just circles in the floors of
So
machine
what is
guns.
this time? She gonna be the elder?
I don't know.
Oh. What? What? Thanks. Oh, I have Jeopardy to watch. Because I'm a dork who will watch and play along with Jeopardy. Yes, I am.
You and millions of octogenarians.
He likes to do it too.
I'll take
Is Richard going to smoke or go to the bathroom?
Thank you.
We got a show to do. I can only imagine how like quasi boring it is watching the lights while we wait for people to go to the bathroom.
Well, if they turn away now, they'll miss all the porn.
Poop jokes.
We were gonna get strippers in here, but nah, y'all sidestepped you. I'm talking to you, Brazilian guy. You just saw partial.
Partial. Moons. We haven't done a rampaging Murderhobos in a while. We are gonna go do it again. Damn you!
What?
You'd be like me, shiftless and lazy without any dreams or ambitions. Worked out so far. You got a laptop and an internet connection.
You are every, I assume 16-year-old nerd's dream right here. Yeah.
No, every 16-year-old nerd's dream is like Tracy Lords or that chick that always stands next to the hot Ferrari in his bedroom poster. I'm like that 16-year-old nerd 20 years later. Because he spent too much time staring at the poster and building up the forearm strength.
You got a wife you get laid on a semi-regular basis.
When was my last anniversary? The one before that. So if anyone is watching the live feed, I love this juice that I'm vaping. It's Cali Vapors, Hearst Castle. Those guys get a huge freaking shout out. And that guy is vaping Ben Johnson's peach iced tea.
That's what I do. I just squeeze like a drop.
Do you like it?
That's alright.
Okay, I didn't ask if it was bad. It's okay. You like it? You like it? You're mumbling. Don't mumble.
Actually, I would like to try
Want to try what?
Hearst Castle with
At last. This juice was made with the tears of virgins and crucified Christ, so don't drop it. There's only a little bit in there, so just drop it right in your clothes. Yeah, it's a Max VG juice. Not more. Okay, more. I'm gonna put some on the other coil though.
Well, do I add that on that coil? Or do I need to
Yeah, go ahead and the coil. And then pour the rest kind of down the middle, so fill the well. And now I have to kill you and wait for the last of my Hearst sponsor. Yeah.
Gotta get started again.
Now am I gonna vape?
You said put it over the coil.
Yeah, the demon cat poles go over the coil.
Sorry. I was thinking about bringing the other heating pad in because this one's not working really well.
That's the wrong cat.
That's
Bottle.
sticking hole.
I got the cat.
So, throw this way out.
I vooped in my pants. I vooped. No vooping. There's a no vooping zone. It's vaping while you poop.
No vooping zone.
No vooping zone.
Why do you poop on the toilet?
I vooped in my pants.
Yeah.
Got a dry hit, and so I vooped in my pants.
I guess I've heard of creepier, but not really.
Alrighty.
Would you be so kind as to grab me a Coke, please?
Oh, sugar coat with explode. Okay.
Hey Matt, before you sit down, have a little water.
So, we know it.
We're not recording it.
Okay, I was not wanting this for everyone. I know adventurer is another term for Murderhobo, right? It's the politically correct term for Murderhobo.
Yeah.
Is explorer like a synonym for adventurer, or is it like not really Murderhobo, but knock unconscious hobo?
The explorers are the ones you find in the dungeon who went in before you.
So they're the ones you're stealing from.
They weren't Murderhobo enough.
Well, like I said, so they're the knock you unconscious and take your shit. Instead of kill you, take your shit.
You're not stealing. You're grave robbing and desecrating a corpse.
No.
Hey, why do
The
you assume
explorers.
they're being desecrated?
The explorers found the hole. They went into the hole. They were immediately murdered by kobolds. So now you have to go in, drag the explorers out for a proper burial, and then go kill all the kobolds. And they take all their shit.
proper burial.
I know
Dig a
you,
hole to grab it.
I know you meant to say proper, but you kind of blurred the words, so it really did sound like you say, drag them out, give them an improper funeral. Which, let's be honest, Casey, that's kind of a dick thing to do to someone.
The good Philip Fire said a lot of words was set him on fire.
And this is a good conversation actually recording, but
I was trying to share jokes with my friends, not the rest of the world.
I'm gonna hit record it.
Alright, fine. Share your coke with a sidekick.
Well,
And we're back.
and we're back.
Alright.
Dun, 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 dun.
The next imprint of New World of Darkness, first
Classic.
edition, is Werewolf Forsaken.
Boo.
Again, a more simplified game than its predecessor. Only 5 basic tribes. The history is different and much darker than Apocalypse, with a heavier emphasis on the spirit realm. Much heavier, really, when you compare it to
The spirit world was central in both, I thought.
not as central.
Finish this, then I'll get my questions.
I want to go first.
The 5 auspices were also renamed and modified as to their duties. And
She said duty.
yes, the acronym for this game is funny because we're all 12.
What the fuck?
Its acronym is WTF for those playing the home game.
Right.
It was on official shirts. W2F.
And this
W2F.
is
TF.
And this is actually, this did not have a dedicated art book, and they just simply modified the tabletop for its lore.
Modified. I mean, technically, the blue LARP book, and any tabletop book is all you really need, right?
I would heavily nerf a lot of those gifts for if minimal.
And the strength stats.
Fine.
Okay, so Uncle Stewie wanted to go first, so Uncle
Go
Stewie
first,
goes
Uncle Stewie. Go
Werewolf. This is the game that I feel like everyone's inner redneck wants to play. Like, it's
Okay, I've heard of inner child.
Yeah.
I've heard of inner sex goddess who can't eat properly when she breaks up with her boyfriend. I've never heard of an inner redneck.
everyone's got a little inner redneck. It's just that little guy that every time you hit a speed bump, you want to do it at 45 and scream yeehaw.
I thought that was just me from all my Dukes of Hazzard watching as a
No,
little kid.
because the Dukes of Hazzard is the intaking process for the inner redneck. Once you see one episode of Dukes of Hazzard, your inner redneck seed starts to grow. It might get stunted by like extra coffee or, being
Wait.
exposed to things like Starbucks and yuppie music.
So coffee stunts your inner redneck.
It does, because not like, Chicory and Folgers coffee or 8 o'clock coffee, but like as soon as you see your first Starbucks sign, your inner redneck just starts to shrivel.
All you have to do is see the sign?
Yeah.
Because they're like, on a mile stretch of road, you'll have 5 Starbucks.
I know, that's why it's so dangerous for the inner redneck to come into the city. Most rednecks, true rednecks, will stay in the outskirts.
And
Okay.
may I say the added danger of a Starbucks? The inner hipster begins to grow.
Well, here's my question. If you are a redneck, Uncle Stewie, do you have the inner hipster? Or do you also have an inner redneck working with your regular redneck?
We've gotten very Freudian in this
I'm just saying,
conversation.
We have not mentioned penis yet.
You have both,
Penis.
right? And it's a yin and yang. They have to try and stay in balance, but sometimes...
So,
And this is why so many rednecks have beards.
By the way,
Wait,
this
huh?
is not a discussion of werewolf.
Because
At all. Not
So-
even close.
we're getting there.
So hipster and redneck are the good guy and bad guy. I'm not saying which is which.
I'm not saying
We all
they're
know
good.
which is which.
They're not good guy, really good guy, bad guy.
Well, you said yin yang.
But, sort of in that sense that you struggle to keep your hipster in balance with your inner redneck. And that's where you get your yuppies. Like the total yuppies who haven't let either take over completely and they drive Beamers.
All right.
Just stay focused
I was trying
on
to bring.
actual
I was
stuff.
trying to bring this back to what the fuck, and your yuppie threw me off. So
let's totally go.
your redneck is your physical form, and your hipster is your physical form. Your redneck is your spiritual, and they have to be fused properly to get a werewolf. Go.
Right. So anyway, what I was saying is werewolf,
Forsaken.
both.
Forsaken.
Werewolf and Forsaken, but both wrong. Are kind of like the games that your inner redneck wants to play, and so you feel a little guilty for playing it, especially when it's like there's some of the things you can do during the day on a Saturday, but you go to the werewolf game anyway.
I'm just gonna say 2 words. Rocket fuel.
Yeah, that's.
I have played Werewolf the Forsaken.
No.
On occasion.
But I'm gonna have to dispute that in a redneck because
Hang on,
I'm
let
pretty
him-
yuppie.
Let him say what he wants to say.
This all comes back to my kind of like,
Excuse me.
wow, that was so translated over this.
Excuse me.
Distraction.
Fart jokes.
Stay.
We're all 12.
focused.
Uncle Stewie, you were saying about what the fuck?
Stay on target.
So, it's a fun game. My problem with White Wolf games is that everyone takes them far too seriously, especially in a large setting. I don't play games like role-playing games to like run around and be super serious about it. And so one of the reasons I have such a problem with LARP in general, I enjoy LARPing. I like going and hanging out with friends in a live environment. But I think people spend way too much time delving into the environment. And, you know, the games are designed to be immersive. Like, I get that. And I'm not going to say you're wrong for doing it. It's just not what I enjoy.
It's not your style, okay.
I prefer to skirt the surface of the world and to basically enjoy the interaction with people and not worry about whether or not my werewolf was traumatized as a cub or...
But how does this translate to your liking of what the fuck? Because you said you do like it, yes?
No, I don't like it.
Oh.
I don't really like any White Wolf
misunderstood.
game other than Innocence.
Okay.
And this is because...
That's not true though. And we'll get to that later.
What?
Because you like board.
No, okay. There's a difference between me participating in a game to have for a level of enjoyment and actually liking it. I don't really like the games. I mean, the gothic horror is too pervasive. It delves too much into this fake, the fake world of World of Darkness where everything is just a little bit grittier than it is in real life. And I think that's
debatable.
well, I mean, because everyone's like, oh, it's the World of Darkness. And some of the splats make it a little bit lighter, some make it a little bit darker. Like, Geist is very dark. Werewolf is kind of on the lighter side of the whole thing.
We can agree.
It's more Technicolor than Vampire or Geist. There's more moral ambiguity, but there's not. It's not monochromatic in its ethics.
There are more shades of gray, is what you're trying to say.
I would say there's more shades of brown, red, blue, and yellow than there are gray.
We can discuss that when we get to mine.
Right. So, but in general, the World of Darkness, and I'll apologize to Justin Keeley and all his friends that wrote it. The system is cool. I like the D10 adventure system. The storytelling system. I don't necessarily like the environment that was built around it as canon material.
Okay.
But that's me.
Now,
So,
I believe Anne was next.
Yeah, I understand the inner redneck thing, but actually, my only Werewolf of Forsaken character that I ever played was a yuppie lawyer from Missouri.
But from Missouri. And the Ozarks, to be specific. So
You
her
mispronounced
international is
it.
definitely there.
It's pronounced Missouri.
No, it's not.
It is not.
In World of Darkness. Because everything is dark. Sure.
I mean, I actually very much... My problem with Werewolf of Forsaken, and I did not like it as much as I liked Apocalypse, even though I came around to Forsaken. I hated the fact that you'd already lost before you even started to play.
Okay.
It really annoyed the shit out of me that was the basis for the entire game.
But in that vein, just real quick, it would take 2 player characters to win the war against the worm in the apocalypse. You needed a werebear who can cure all derangements of any creature, and you needed someone to defend him. And he was going to go to the worm and cure its insanity, and the game is over, you won. At least there is a battle that, yes, you're on the losing side of.
No losing side, you've already done lost in Werewolf of Forsaken. That's how it starts.
Your job is to be a border guard. Your job is to keep spirits in spirit world. I'm in the spirit world. Sorry. Too much Young Guns 2 in the inner redneck comment. Your job is to police the borders. You can still do that. Spirits spirits aren't all living in the human world, and humans aren't all living in the spirit world. That would be losing.
But if you're carrying on a bad heritage, a curse, something that's been handed down to you, and you you know, it's not your fault that these things have happened. This is the way things are, but it's still your job to maintain them.
It's like marriage.
Kind of.
Wait, okay, hang on, Uncle Stewie. Explain to me how how policing the borders and a fight you've already lost is like, never mind. The fight you've already lost thing.
Yeah, that kind of already says it all.
I didn't say that.
No, I said it.
But she was close enough to hit, and you're injured.
But
Wait, hold on. So you mean any dickhead misogynistic thing I say can Uncle Stewie beat?
I'm gonna take the drip well sides off of my coil and just hold it up to your balls and like set it up.
First of all, why are you getting that
Every time I get
nuts
hit-
beforehand?
Every time I get hit, your nuts are gonna get burned.
I mean, I just won't let you near my nuts.
Oh, you sleep like a fucking rock. I'm gonna sneak in there and But
I would like to state this for all of y'all listening. Uncle Stewie has just said he's gonna sneak in my room and play with my nuts.
heard
not
that.
play. Mutilate.
We heard.
Some people are into that.
Let's stay focused.
What?
But
Sorry,
I
Ann,
can see
please
what
continue.
Andy's talking about. That basically, you know, Apocalypse is a war that you're losing. You have this very minute chance of maybe turning out okay. Oh, you know. Whereas Forsaken, no, your job is to keep things shitty.
Well, see, this is what I'm not understanding by what y'all are saying. That guy and Ann. It's not a war you've already lost. It's your border patrol. It's a war that will always go on. But you haven't lost it
That's
already.
the depressing part. Is
Actually, you
that
did.
cannot affect change.
Because one of the mythological points is that you are descended from people who killed Father Wolf. By killing Father Wolf, you already damn lost the war.
Yeah,
It
you
says
condemn-
that plainly.
No, you condemned yourself to the job that Father Wolf had
Yeah.
to do.
You didn't lose.
No,
You
sorry,
just
your
gave yourself a
ancestors
job.
condemned you to the job Father Wolf was doing first.
Exactly. Your ancestors screwed something up, and therefore, since Father Wolf is no longer able to police the borders, you police the borders.
It's no different than living in America.
The problem is you're nowhere near as
What's
good
that
as he
sick
was.
up, guys? Was there a car with a big speaker driving
Yes.
by? Okay.
Someone.
Do you think someone's knocking at the door, Ann?
No, because the dog would be going nuts.
Yeah, she
Okay.
would.
At any rate, I'm not understanding where y'all are getting this "you lost the war" thing.
It's supposed to be basically your ancestors screwed up. They murdered Father Wolf,
Yeah.
took on his job, except the problem is none of you could even combined are still as good or even close to as good as he wasn't doing his job.
Which is why you will always do the job, and you
And-
can't just sit around and snap your fingers and it happen. But you
And-
haven't lost.
But it's not your fault. The job has to be done now.
And you're never going to do it
So you're
right.
basically condemned to eternal slavery, and every generation after you is condemned to the same
And
slavery.
you can't
Condemned to indentured servitude,
It's slavery. You're not getting paid to do it.
but you can choose not to do it.
And
No, you can't,
Yeah, you can.
because then the spirits run rampant in the real world, and the whole thing
And-
falls apart.
not to mention Forsaken Society will turn against you. The even pure will turn against you. And then there's also this Veil House. Who doesn't want to be with those guys?
I'm just saying, a guy can choose to be where we first meet up with King Ulrich and Werewolf the Apocalypse, Wata, for those of you who like acronyms, and just sit at home, drink beer, and watch the news and complain about it. You don't have to be a border guard. Yeah, people aren't going to like you for it if they find out you're one of them. But if you're always at home drinking beer, watching the news, how are they going to know?
That's the thing in Werewolf, though, is that you almost always give yourself away.
And you're also driven to a pack mentality, unless you take the flaw lone wolf.
And there's also the writer's thing of conversation of detail. And people know things because they need to know them, because it's convenient for them to know them. And this does apply also in gaming writing as well as just legit.
And so, and obviously,
That's-
so we're also we're going off the premise that you're playing a game with a group of people, right? If this was a real world guy, you'd probably go off and be a lone wolf watching the news, drinking beer.
I assumed we were talking about this as a real world.
Well, we're talking about a game.
Because she mentioned it was slavery, and no, you don't have to. You're choosing, which is why I was bringing this up. You're choosing to do the noble thing and take the sins of the father, which have passed to the son.
But that's not indentured
Because
servitude. That's self-sacrifice. Indentured servitude.
But
you're
it's not
forced into
slavery.
service.
Well, indentured servitude, you choose. You remember, the people would choose to come to America, work in households to pay for their passage or what have you. You're choosing to do this noble thing because it's the right thing to do. And yeah, you get paid for it because you get really cool badass superpowers.
Not always a choice. Sometimes the present is, you're gonna do this thing, we're gonna beat the fucking shit out of you. We're going to literally do everything but kill you. Because we need you, because you're what we need. You're what the people need. I'm sorry, this is what you wanted in life. I'm sorry, this isn't what you had.
I understand.
This is what you got.
But it's still,
That's
it's a noble thing. Sorry, it can be a noble thing if you choose to make your character that way, and not just focus on the, I was forced to do this, I'm whiny and emo wolf, I'm the Hulk.
But also, so the point I was making is, if you approach it, so if you approach it from the real world point of view, like this world, the real world, we're all werewolves, and I decide to sit on my ass and not do anything about it, not only am I driven to a pack mentality, I mean, the werewolves crave social interaction, but in the game world, you're sitting around a table with 3 or 4 other people who can stare you in the face and say, hey, get off the couch and stop watching the news, and they'll force you into acting.
I understand if you're making a character, no, you're not going to make the guy who just sits on the couch. Shen doesn't.
Shut up.
I'm gonna call shenanigans on your whole fucking premise.
I was actually not. I was not trying to go there with this. So
I know, I'm just saying.
At any
He
rate,
didn't say anything about who it was. He just said you wouldn't create a character that sits on the couch and does nothing.
And then we all start to laugh.
And I'm claiming shenanigans on your whole fucking premise.
Anyway.
at any rate, I like Werewolf the Apocalypse. I like Werewolf the Forsaken. I like them for different reasons, but I don't. The way I see it, it's not a war you've already lost, because your job isn't to fight the worm and kill the worm. Your job is to police the borders. So while your job is always going to go on, you haven't already lost, because you can still kick humans out of the spirit world and kick spirits out of the human world. Does this make sense?
Yeah, we'll have to agree to disagree on your interpretation.
Well,
What
I'm saying is I don't understand y'all. Can you explain how you view the war as already being lost to me?
Because you're doing a job that you could not possibly ever do well enough. Which means you've already lost.
You're never going to
what are you saying?
I'm saying I'm always agreeing with Dan and that guy, and the fact that you're doing a job that you can never do well enough to actually complete. So you're basically you're on a treadmill. The whole game's a treadmill.
Since you can never win, you
Most of the time.
Sorry, I'm remembering how Data beat that weird-faced guy in chess. I wasn't playing to beat him, I was playing him to stalemate him. Anyway. So, super smart androids will do that.
Well, that's because the super smart android was probably a pacifist.
But yeah, no, that's the thing, is like, if you can't ever win, then you've already lost. And there is no...
At any rate,
although I came around much too. I actually started to enjoy playing the game later on.
So, I mean,
as I was stating, I do like Werewolf the Forsaken. I like Werewolf the Apocalypse. I like the way the spirit world is presented. With, in fact, I'm remembering a game that guy was S-Team for Mind's Eye Society, where my PC went to the shittiest part of town he could, summoned a dove, a spirit of hope, put him in the center of the shittiest part of town, and fostered him to make the city better. Because things that happen in the spirit world slowly start affecting the real world and vice versa. And Werewolf the Forsaken and the spirit book, from the book, it was just called the Book of Spirits? Okay. I like the research White Wolf did for these books. For those who don't know me, I am pagan. I follow nature worship, and I will say the research they did into alternative religions and the way certain religions, Druidic nature worship, Native American shamanism, they did their research exceedingly well, and not in a racial stereotype like Werewolf the Apocalypse was known for, because their Native American werewolves were really, they were horrible stereotypes. And if y'all remember the Fianna, stereotypes and racial stereotypes were a big thing in the old Werewolf that you don't get in Werewolf the Forsaken. At least I don't think you do.
No.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. They never said it. Thank God. I didn't say thank God because they were just horrible.
We are an hour and 12 minutes. We should probably move on to the next topic.
Well, I got mine.
You don't get one.
You went before I did.
Alright, spit it out.
Say what you need to say, that guy.
Skip me in the game. That's probably one of my favorites. I actually
Say what you
storytell.
need to say, that guy.
That game, it's not a good game.
Yeah,
Uncle Stewie, you went.
We agreed to disagree. So Werewolf the Forsaken was one of the first games I ever storytold for, and I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it because it's much darker in tone than Apocalypse. You are a barely contained paranoid psychopath.
Who told you that?
Basically, you're the person that got handed the shit stick in life. You're stuck with something you never really wanted. You're with a task that you can never really complete or do well.
But you have superpowers and turn into a fuzzy chainsaw.
And almost everybody hates you. Like, even you kind of hate you to some small extent, and that's kind of sad.
The spirits in the Forsaken,
Don't
they
like-
really despise you. Whereas in the Apocalypse, it was a lot more bright, fluffy, happy with the spirits.
And that's also something about the spirits and the shadow of what I really liked is, so there's not a whole lot bright and fluffy. Even spirits of hope, even spirits of happiness, even spirits of joy can be twisted and made dark and
Probably kill you.
Yeah. No, they can be of negative influence. And because it's a matter of moderation, because the Lost Jungle keeps everything kind of very conservative and balanced, that's the idea. You need that Darwinism. And it's when Darwinism gets out of control, where these things take over whole areas and suppress any other court, any other type of spirit, is when things really get out of hand and you have these really negative consequences. So, like, conceptually, it's one of my favorite games. Next to probably, like, Promethean Changeling, which we'll go to the Thinking
When we get to them.
Yeah, Thinking Man's game that is Promethean.
Plus, of course, there's always the option of cutting this into 2 episodes if we go over a lot. Anyway,
Next up on our list of...
Mage, the Awakening!
I thought Awakening was the one.
No.
Oh, that's Ascension.
Oh. God, I wish they had
Attack,
not had an A word this time.
Anyway, in this update of Mage, humans are awakened to their magical abilities. The awakening human travels to the watchtower of his or her specific path, that is, the sort of mage the person is, and writes their name on it to signify what they've become.
Because graffiti gives you magic.
And this game also has its share of political intrigue as they introduced orders that a mage can join.
Like
And
Covenants and Vampires.
This was the only other book besides Vampire and just a plain NWAD book that actually had a LARP book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've actually seen the Mage LARP book.
It's pretty. It's a smaller version and it's blue and it's nice.
Oh.
Yeah, red, blue, mage.
I like
That's how I did, but
I like amongst the White Wolf games that I can enjoy playing, Mage the Ascension is one of them. Mainly because the game isn't limited to merely what the power set says it is.
And it's not as gothic horror-y.
Yeah, and that's nowhere near as Gothic horror. There's no Gothic horrors at all.
there's a lot.
None? I demand a recount. But did you like OWOG Mage as well, Uncle Stewie?
Not really.
So this is that you like the new WOD version, but not the OWOD version.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's actually a lot of Tomb Raider aspects to it because you're trying to find these artifacts, you're trying to find history. From what I
Well, you're trying to find a way to return yourself to Atlantis, to become a pure being. And so,
fight the Exarchs.
So in the sense that where almost all the other games are about the corruption of the being, the Mage game is about trying to find the purest form of the being you can become. And so, and while doing that, it's like everything that involves hubris, you keep sliding down the slope. you can't become more pure and become strong at this, more powerful at the same time.
Because with great power comes great dicketry.
Pretty much. So the further you progress down the paths of power and the orders, your ability to be a mage and to affect reality, the further you get away from actually being a member of reality. And so, what?
I'm sorry, my opinion is mage right there in a nutshell.
Noted.
It is a very crunchy game. There are lots of numbers.
It's rules intensive.
It's rules intensive.
Yeah.
That being said,
But it's a
mage.
form.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. If you are a rogues mage and you want to execute everything by the book and you want to know the powers that are pre-described and everyone else discovered, it's a very mechanically intensive game.
Yes.
However, it is also one of the most free-form games in the White Wolf library.
If you don't worry about rogues and just look at your not spheres.
What they call creative thaumaturgy.
Arcanums is what they're called now.
Arcanums, yeah. But creative thaumaturgy is the ability to take your raw magic
Spontaneous casting.
Yeah, spontaneous casting. To take your raw magic ability from one school or more schools, combine them to create a spectacular effect that no one else has tried to put down into book form. And so, if you're good, if you have high gnosis, or even low gnosis,
What's
but
Gnosis? Gnosis is
your
the power stat?
So, depending on your gnosis affects how many schools you can combine into one to do something.
What's your blood pool in the new mage?
Mana.
Mana.
Okay, Gnosis. Sorry, the fact that they use Gnosis again, and Gnosis was a burnable ability in Old Werewolf, I get confused.
Yeah.
Mana is what you spend, Gnosis is power stat,
Yeah.
Arcanums are your magic.
That would be great.
And you have wisdom.
Wisdom is your
Morality.
Morality scale. And so a low wisdom mage is a dangerous thing, and a high wisdom mage is a dangerous thing.
Now, the lower your wisdom, the more your hubris, or is hubris something else?
No, hubris is just this term they describe as when you perform acts of hubris, you basically create potential for paradox and for backlash, and the more that happens, the more wisdom you lose.
Okay, so an act of hubris are the violations to your morality stat.
It's
Okay.
using magic and property to like turning, I don't know, a broom into a servant.
You mean Mickey
Lords.
Mouse is a low wisdom mage?
Taking
Fantasia is what not to
taking
do.
bums off the streets, wiping their minds, and turning them into your house servants is an act of hubris.
Oh,
Because you're too lazy to do it.
whoops.
You shouldn't. So the rule of thumb is you shouldn't do anything with magic you could do with the power of hands.
Don't.
Yeah.
Magic should be respected, much like fire. Yes,
And
it
it
can
should-
burn, but yes, it can.
And you
Or,
should. And
like
so,
mages that Richard plays, you can throw the 12 Arcanum at him.
11. Why do we have to keep telling you this number?
Because I hate this game and I don't
and so
care.
while you're doing these magnificent cosmic powers, and not even need to be living
space.
No, you can have a gigantic living space if you want.
Because you bought it with what? The 11th arcane.
So, but you have all this power, and you've been given basically zero responsibility.
Wow, they really don't have a job, do they?
No, that's the problem with mages is that they keep
Other than finding lands.
they keep developing these magnificent, wonderful powers, and there's nothing for them to focus it on, so they wind up basically corrupting themselves the whole way down the ladder.
Does each order have? I haven't read the order books. Do they have goals in the order books that are unique to each order? Like, the Silver Ladder wants to become president, so is there anything like that?
Well, every order has kind of like a generalized focus on what they want to do. You've got the arrows, right? They're pretty much law enforcement, warrior caste.
Yeah, okay.
You've got the Free Council.
What does the Free Council want to do?
They want to be Carthians.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, other than, hey, screw those Silver Ladder guys because they're in charge, what does the Free Council, like,
Isn't it like magical empowerment? Like they want
They basically want to awaken everyone. They want the entire world to be.
They want to awaken everyone, so they're in opposition to the Guardians?
Yeah, so they're basically in opposition to the Guardians, and the Mystigos kind of want to do the same way. They only want to awaken the ones that are worthy of being awakened.
That's a path, not an order.
So I mean, that's one of their political languages, kind of thing. So there are. I mean, everyone they have kind of keen overlappings, and then there's things like the Banishers and stuff like that that are basically mages that are wild mages that are outside the orders completely. They're not pinnacle. They're TM.
Are they the ones that steal books and power? Or
I
are
don't
they
know,
the ones
never-
that can't have ropes?
I never really got deep into the Banisher stuff, so I know that they're basically so when the dragon, I guess, so the source of all magic was Atlantis and the dragons. When Atlantis went away, the dragons died. People so the pinnacle mages kind of all thought they were hot shit and that they were going to be political and stand in the corner. And there are a couple of like wild, like tribal mage groups that live in other parts of the world who come in and play as antagonists on occasion. But like I said, I've read flavor books, but I don't really read the rule books, like the actual rule portions of the game.
I know there's one of the bad guy groups that specifically can never have ropes, and I think they're the Banishers.
It might be the Banishers.
Because they have no formal training.
Miss Kohler plays, in the Accord game, plays another offshoot outside mage group.
We'll discuss it more in the bench.
But
The game that's not an actual real life game.
there are mages whose entire purpose in life is to bring the Exarchs back to Earth and let them rule.
Who are they? Because they're like the big bad guys, right?
I don't want to out anyone who's playing because I mentioned their name.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, the name of that group.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We can't out the name of a...
Because I mentioned a player who's playing one of them, and I didn't want to out them
Okay.
because they're currently playing.
I didn't hear you mention the name.
Anyway. He did. I heard.
Anne's opinion of mage is snore. Now, that guy?
Okay. Mage was interesting. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantis material. Just not. I don't consider it great writing.
In that respect, because I've spoken to people about this, if it makes you feel better, you can view Atlantis as an allegory. It doesn't have to be named Atlantis. It is a magical place that came before. You can name it Shangri-La, and because there are a lot of people, that guy, who don't like the Atlantis stuff.
Yeah.
And
I think it's
tried,
awesome.
Including the original writers.
I think it's great to have it sourced.
They've tried to fix this by coming out and saying after the original writing, hey, if you guys don't like the Atlantis stuff, you can view it like this or you can view it like that.
You can do it with the wiffle ball bat.
I'm with Uncle Stewie that I do like the Atlantis stuff. What is it you dislike about it,
Uh,
other than its bad writing appearance?
As I said, very good writing. I thought it was good. And it's also a bit forced.
It was, actually.
Yeah. Kind of just stuck in there incongruously with a lot of the other material. And it's trying to play up on fantasy, like traditional fantasy with dragons and hidden islands and places to explore.
You're playing mage.
Yeah, I know, but it's
I'm gonna stop you right there and stop you.
it's
What
not
would-
it's
what would
not
you-
my aesthetic.
What would you have preferred in mage then, other than the high fantasy?
That all the mages killed Father Wolf and they have spirits forever.
No.
And they can turn into these giant furry chainsaws.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't leave that out.
And
Yeah.
both of you and fuck you to both of you.
You know what? Fuck you. Fuck your socks with the little fucking bells. President is black and my Lambo's blue.
The hell was that?
I watched the Boondocks yesterday, and dude goes on like this 5-minute rant about fuck you, fuck this, fuck Guy Ritchie, fuck Prince William, fuck the Queen, my president is black and my Lambo is blue, bitches. And
I actually,
I think we digressed it.
but I would actually, I kind of like some dragon stuff and all that. I'm actually happy with the Tower of Babel allegory and the idea of ascending into heaven and falling apart, and sort of this matrix version of reality where your powers come from you being able to perceive reality mostly how it really is, more so than a normal human being.
Full reality. So the problem with mage in general is that mages know that reality is fluid. Everyone knows reality is reality. And so the idea that if you can change reality is very much limited by the fact that no one else believes you're a fucking mage. And so you basically doing mage in the presence of mortals causes something called disbelief. Or well,
And
they call it
terrorists.
something called disbelief, which can basically negate your ability to change reality because their belief is so strong. It's all about basically a battle of wills. Your battle of will, your side of the battle says I can change reality, do what I want. Their part says reality and the laws of physics can't be changed. And since there's more of them, the belief is stronger.
Unless they're all weak-willed and you're not.
Well, yeah,
You can affect
you
a
can
large group.
you can overcome a large group of people, but you basically have to be in a group of like simpletons.
Right, I said normal people.
Yeah.
Did I say that out loud? Might be.
That was not my beat.
Simple is as simple does.
So we ready to go on?
I think we're ready.
Or I could go.
I didn't know.
I was trying to let everyone else go first.
You were talking.
You still need to go.
My
Unless
opinion of
Snore
mage.
really is all
Snore
you have to
is
say.
my opinion of mage.
Okay.
I'm done.
The fact that Mage, especially this version, brought in a faction-like system, because all of the New Odd books, you get a what you're born as and what your political affiliation is.
Not exactly, because werewolf didn't have that. Werewolf just got tribe, and you could choose not to join a tribe.
Then there are lodges, and there are political associations from
I
multiple
forgot
tribes.
about lodges.
So yes,
Prometheus is the exception to the rule. We can talk about it.
but when it comes down to it, you get your political affiliations and your magic. Not everything has to be who can throw the biggest kamehameha. I like the dragons and I like the Atlantis as original where we came from, but they no longer exist, at least not in what do they call it? The lower reality. Where mages are stuck.
There's ephemeral.
Because the Exarchs have the biggest part about Mage is that they're... I don't believe so.
I can't remember.
The biggest part about Mage is reality has layers. And in the lowest layer where normal people and...
No, that's a different one. That's Theursis.
Let me get to this bit. The way magic works is you change reality on a higher level and it filters down into the lower reality to affect it. Which is how you can change physics, because no, physics are like this where I'm from, and now they're going to be like this here. It's not always about the magic. You can choose to have a political mage game where magics are subtle and you can focus on dastardly dealings, or you can join a LARP late and not have as much XP as everyone else and choose instead to throw all your points into having a lot of money. And then using said money and political machinations to win the game, as I did. Because as I taught everyone, and as Bruce Wayne taught me, and as Wu-Tang Clan has said, cash rules everything around me, son. They do let you do more than just the high fantasy you were talking about.
And you can just eschew the whole globe scheme and be, again, like a Tomb Raider. Go, alright, I'm going to find Atlantis artifacts, I'm going to find Atlantis, and I'm going to shoot every ghoulish thing I can find.
With magic.
With magic. What up, bitches?
So Supernal and Prime realms.
Okay.
Supernal was the word I was trying to
Supernal's the
say.
heavenly.
That's where the
Yeah,
SRs
yeah.
are.
Okay.
But at any rate, I like the way Mage was done because, yes, it can have a fantasy element for people like Uncle Stewie and myself. Yes, it can have dark political machinations, and no one talks about Atlantis for people like that guy. And there can be a room to nap in for Anne. So see, there's something for everyone.
Yeah, there is.
And as long as you include the room to nap in for Anne.
There. Yeah. And fell asleep during my mage games.
I did several times.
So
Which is not to say Uncle Stewie runs a bad game. I would like to state that now.
It's a very metaphysical game, and
I usually like Uncle Stewie's games as long as he is reined in. He mentioned, let me explain before you get upset. He mentioned that he doesn't like the serious games. He likes the slapstick, and he likes the comedy and the silliness and the humor that can come in the game. Which I'm all for. But I don't want a game to be only that. I like the seriousness and the dark. I like all emotions to be represented in games that I play in.
But none of my mage games were slapsticker. They had humor, but they weren't like slapsticky.
I was thinking mainly about your 20 modern game that seemed more silly
that's completely out of scope for the discussion. I think mage.
I like my undead doctors.
Mage is because the very nature of mage is, in fact, in reality, is fluid. Makes for some really awkward and funny and strange situations in game.
But it can also make for dark and serious.
It can. And that's what what I was going to say, because anyone that played my mage game, because when we actually started our mage game for MES, it was at the end of a chronicle. Basically, we had like a year left to play.
If that.
And it was a pretty fast-paced, end-of-the-world approaching kind of, action-filled game.
And you kind of got screwed over because you had, like, most of your players, like me, making new characters. And then you had, like, 3 or 4 that have had characters since the beginning and were ungodly uber powerful.
Yeah.
And you had to run a game that incorporated everyone.
Well, my character, while being a new character,
But you were high MC.
Yeah.
You were like a triple master when you made your character.
I know, it was bad.
I'm thinking of people like that guy and myself who joined a new game at lower MC.
I had maybe 2 or 3 in it, did a couple arcana.
I think I was a single master by the end of the game, but I counted myself as a double master because I had money.
I was a good Christian man.
But at any rate,
GCM.
what I was trying to bring up, Uncle Stewie, was the way you run games you like, and the way you play characters, you like more of the comedy, and less. You even said this. You don't like the people that are uber or uber serious.
I like the people just fine. I don't like the characters that are too serious.
You know what I meant.
I know, but I don't want to have that go out there and be like, well, no wonder he's such a jackass.
I'm not saying he dislikes people. He does. He just doesn't tell you people about that because he still wants y'all to like him when he runs for president. Or as he's gonna reword it, American Overlord. I've seen his notebooks about it. He's written numerous ones.
No.
They're kind of creepy.
Yeah, I should really use this.
There are...
Just saying, Homeland Security.
That guy.
No, that guy should be investigated. That's for the pictures he keeps on his computer.
Whoa.
Really? Hey. That's not illegal in all countries, okay?
No, and I know they're from Thailand because, the folder's labeled Thai.
Alright, we're joking.
That's enough of that.
We're joking.
I am joking. But the overly serious and odd, or not really overly serious, but the serious, grim aspects are something I do enjoy.
I think you're wrong. That's okay.
Okay.
Agree to disagree.
I think, no, because...
Okay, guys, we do actually have a time thing.
I know, we can do whatever we want to now.
He-
The rest
he-
of the games don't matter.
Well, there is one I really want to talk about. So
Me
say what
too.
you have to say and let's go. I thought you had already gone. So I apologize.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I can say it at the end and it'll apply to everything because...
Okay.
Next game up is
Promethean the Created.
Oh, dear God.
One of the only that did not get its own dedicated left, didn't you? As far as I
in the
know.
Mind's Eye Society. I am sure there are groups that do Promethean lore.
Promethean had its own.
It did.
Very briefly, I assume.
Briefly,
I don't even
because it's
remember.
hard to make work for lots of
And
reasons.
again, I'm sure there are groups that have a Promethean lore. In the Mind's Eye Society, it did not have a long-running one. We can't say the Mind's Eye Society is all for LARPs. They might
There
have
is
found
no
a
other
Promethean-
game besides Mind's Eye Society.
I am sure.
Mind's Eye Society is great. Mind's Eye Society will last forever.
And Mind's Eye Society gets free Kool-Aid when Uncle Stewie goes and hangs out with them. I, on the other hand, have stayed away from it. All I was saying is I'm sure there are some people who might have found a way to make Promethean work as a LARP. We've never seen it, but it could
Theoretically.
feasibly... Okay, yeah, theoretically work feasibly.
Yeah, theoretically.
But they're designed to be loners.
That's why I said it could theoretically someone could have figured this
Okay.
out.
My summary here. This imprint centered on a monster unique to NWAD, and that it didn't have a direct correlation in OWAD. Prometheans were human corpses given new life.
Not always corpses.
Actually,
They
yes,
were always
books had corpses.
One was a stone,
No,
a sculpture that was.
they were corpses. That is specifically states they were corpses. They were just usually stone, either just laid over them, or it's somehow
Yeah.
a part of
There was
their.
always a dead person.
It was always a corpse.
Concrete overshoes.
Well, I just remember reading one of the ones that they brought in a later splash book
Anyway,
that was a sculpture that was brought to life through the rituals.
If it was not Promethean.
It was not one of the core ones, but they did add it in later.
We can talk about that later, but.
I
Anyway.
will show you the book. That
Given
guy.
new life through certain rites, each family of Prometheans were raised by a different set of those rites, which is how they differentiated. As a whole, Prometheans wished to perform some great work, earn a soul, and become truly human. AKA, they were all pretty much Pinocchio on steroids.
That have to procreate as well.
Yeah.
'Cause they all have that desire, don't they? To
Well,
make
yeah.
a new.
But that part of the grand design is you have to do that. You actually have to make another Promethean to become human.
To become a real boy, you have to condemn another
Person
corpse
to your torture.
Sounds like the
That really doesn't sound like a good thing. Why are you earning a soul for this?
Because becoming human is not always about doing the right thing. That's actually part of the whole.
No, but not becoming human, but earning a soul.
No, but it's you're not really earning a soul. You're basically constructing a soul a shard at a time. And
Is that how it's explained?
It's an interpretation.
And the idea there is that humans are more than the sum of their, or more than just their morality. They're the sum of their entire experience. And so, in order to understand pain, you have to inflict pain. In order to understand, you have to experience pain at the same
So
time.
it's Siddhartha's view of total nirvana, which is not pure happiness or pure despair. You have to have both and then get to the middle ground.
There is some
Or the Matrix, you can't survive without suffering.
You say the Matrix?
Yeah.
I never viewed that in the
I can
Matrix,
see
but
that.
okay.
But it was much adverse to a lot of the other new WAD or log to begin with, because log WAD is the storytelling of you were a human being, at least you thought you were at some point, and then things happened, and so you're no longer a human being. This, you never had that human experience. This is about you actually learning that human experience and becoming a human being. You're something else that's trying to become us, become immortal. And it's very much a thinking man's game. It's very philosophically bent. Like you don't have political factions. You have these
So what you're saying,
philosophical disciplines,
since
and
it's philosophical based, you don't like it at all, right? That guy.
fuck you all.
he has about the same opinion of Promethean as I do of Mage.
It's and the rinding.
Wait, what?
I'm the randing is what it
And
means.
the rinding.
He said, and the grinding is what it sounded like to me, and I figured that was what he did with his wife when
It's
other people were playing
and the
Promethean.
rinding.
It is more Aristotelic.
All of these sound like euphemisms for masturbation.
Is it Emmanuel accounting?
A little bit.
Penis, the stroking. Got it.
Exactly, that's why I was
That's what happens at the after parties.
It is an armchair philosophical game. That's
If it's penis the stroking and it's an after party, it's someone else doing the stroking for you. Because you don't do that by yourself. There are orgies after every LARP, and don't let anyone ever tell you to, friend.
If you enjoy armchair philosophy and discussion of human morality, it's a game for you.
That's every White Wolf game, because every White Wolf game has a salon aspect to it, where you have the doers and the fighters, and then you have the sitters and the couchers.
Yeah, Promethean do the same.
Couchers. Nice.
Promethean, they're the same fucking people. There's not this division anymore. To be a fighter, to be a part of like Iron, you actually have to take into account that how do you think about your body? Because part of Iron is you have a perfect body, you can have a perfect soul. You have to have this code of ethics that you go by. You have to defend people. Like, what is defending people? What is protecting them? What is saving them? And that's something important. Yeah, I know. It frustrates the shit out of you.
I'm gonna be honest, I have read through some of the books, and it never really struck my fancy as a game I would enjoy. I enjoy philosophy, and I really like psychology. I just could never get into Promethean.
I could get into individual Prometheans, like if they came in as a character in another game, or in the case of a game we're going to discuss later as a character in themselves, but as a whole, I could not.
That's
the game.
what I'm referencing now. When we get to a chord, we'll, like an individual Promethean, sure. But a game about Prometheans, I could never get into.
I would gladly run out. I love that game, but that's me.
I think that Prometheans are. I don't think Promethean should have been a game. I think Promethean should have been a supplemental add-on. And the way that you can play a Promethean, you should play it in an environment surrounded by others. Because the thing about it that makes a Promethean cool is their effect on other creature types.
Yep. Even other supernaturals don't like you. You have no friends.
And not only that, but you cause...
Dude, they made a game all about you, that guy?
You cause a disruption of emotion. And almost every Promethean will have a negative effect on a society if they stay too long. And that's why I think that they're okay as a game type, but they're better as a visiting creature kind of thing.
I can see your point there. I mean, I still like it as a game itself because it appeals to my aesthetics and my interests. If that makes any sense.
I think if you're playing Promethean, you should play it in a tabletop of 1 to 2 players and a storyteller.
I'd say 3. You could do it with 3 to 4. It'd be fine.
It's because
I can see where you're better off in the tabletop. It does not make for a good fight. I agree.
well, no, okay, but even in the tabletop environment, you can't hang with that party of individuals for very long before you start tearing apart the party.
If you can do a brain throng, which is, all you really have to do is talk to a couple of the players and say, hey, we need these transmutations. Can you make sure those are on your sheet? Yeah, okay. Then you can make it work.
Yeah, but so I guess that's the players around the table mentality. That's the players playing the game. But if you're talking about the 3 or 4 Promethean not being particularly trustful or trustworthy, and others not trusting the Promethean enough as far as they can throw them, or
No, I mean, it's legit. I understand what you're saying. And where that's the difference of mechanics versus concept to no small degree, or player.
Well, I think they kind of wrote themselves into a corner with that game. Is what I'm saying is.
Oh, I agree.
They could have made it more approachable, and made it more of a player splat than.
Maybe we'll get Promethean Second Edition. I don't see it happening, but we can keep our fingers crossed.
You can keep your fingers
I
crossed.
will totally keep my fingers crossed.
Okay, so
I'm just gonna hold my breath until you lose.
Richard is going away for a few minutes.
Okay.
So he said to go on without him. So next,
Moving on.
Changeling the Lost.
Another one of my favorites.
A much darker version of one of OWAD's most beloved venues. In this version, humans are kidnapped and taken to the fairy realm. The Fae often torture them, experiment on them, and do all manner of other horrible things. That treatment works in tandem with the magic of the realm to irrevocably change the mind and body of the kidnapped human. Characters in this game play these changed humans who have escaped back to the mortal realm and must pick up the pieces of shattered lives.
You all play abuse victims.
Yep.
Every last stinking one.
It's basically picking
God.
your flavor of abuse and going with that.
It's an entire venue based around violating the 5 rules of bad character creation.
Yep, totally.
Absolutely.
I'm traumatized. I have no parents.
Yep.
I was kidnapped or abused.
Yep.
So I have conquered immense, overwhelming goals to return to my existence, and I may or may not have assassinated a president. Oh, or you were a president, and your fetch took over your life and drove the country's economy into the ground. And so now everyone blames you for it.
It's one of my favorite venues because it's a paranoia game.
It very much is.
Because you're never sure if you actually ever escaped. You're not sure who's a loyalist. If the truth is actually your best friend you've been talking to this entire fucking time, and it's all just a big, sick, twisted game they're playing on you because they think it's funny.
I always thought it was funny from the point of view that the way I thought about it, the true Fae are actually really good people, and all they're not good people, but in the sense that as an entity, they're not evil or bad, but they like to experiment.
Yeah.
And so what they do is create these little pocket realms of reality for people, throw them in there. And so in one group they're saying, hey, the Fae are good people. You should always trust the true Fae. You should go hang out with them. And the other group is saying, you're your worst enemy. They kidnapped you. They tortured you. They sent you. And so I think that in the way that White Wolf has written this toolkit of books, Because you can tell that story. You can tell a story. You know, you can go follow this flat straight along the lines as being, you know, the end all be all of this reality, or you can say, well, there's multiple realities in which, you know, the experiment. And so I always thought it would be funny to play in a Fae game where you're basically dragged between the two realities back and forth, or not really back and forth, but from one to the other. And so everything you've been taught about the Fae is wrong in this reality. And so now you're trying to, you know.
It would still be kind of that paranoia game of, can you trust what you've been told in either reality? Can you even trust what you're able to perceive? Yeah. No, I see where you're going with it, and I actually like that concept.
Because the hedge is a border between the mists, and the mists border many different worlds, so why can't it be?
It's supposed to be confusing.
Yeah.
I actually will go on record as I was not a huge fan of Changeling and Dreaming, ever, because I felt that it was...
In-character sex.
That was basically an excuse to have in-character sex, or out-of-character sex as your characters, which was even creepier on some levels.
I always thought of Changeling the Lost, or even Changeling the original, as the RPG version of Magic Kingdom for Sale Sold.
Kinda, yeah, that actually makes sense. More with Shining Host, which is, or Dreaming, than Lost. Lost is a dark mofo, like totally.
Oh no, it is arguably darker than a lot of the other venues, because again, you're dealing with, you know, you're an abuse victim. You're never sure if anything's real. You can never trust anyone, even yourself. You really can't trust.
And I think for that reason, it attracts some of the more damaged individuals to play.
Yep.
Because it can be cathartic, I guess,
Agreed.
to play out that reality, you know, your reality in that fantasy form. But to me, it just makes the game depressing. It doesn't seem like anything I would want to dig into.
Extremely.
I don't encourage people to take RPGs as therapy necessarily. Like, I can see where it's a good therapeutic tool, but if you actually are suffering from perhaps some issues and you've had some events happen in your life, it's probably not the best thing to work out those issues.
And if you're an actual abuse victim, whether that be physical, mental, or other types, don't play Changeling.
No, but there's two schools of thought on that. One of them is don't confront what you don't have to confront if you don't need to. And the other one is confront it at all costs to overcome it. And I mean, that's a lot of, you know, aversion therapy, you know, stuff that happens in the world is basically putting you face to face with your, you know, the foibles in your past.
But that varies from person to person and also their circumstances.
Well, I'm saying it would take a stronger minded individual to do it, but there are therapists who actually put their, you know, that run basic RPGs for their clientele to confront each other.
I understand that. I just don't encourage people to pursue it with wild abandon.
No, I'm not saying wild abandon. And that's one of the reasons I don't like to play Changeling, is because it just seems like a game that's far too depressing. For that reason, that it does attract people who've had darker pasts. And I don't think it's potentially positive to throw yourself into that situation where you might come face to face with a scene that you would find uncomfortable, and then it isn't necessarily a fade to black scene for anyone else.
I completely see what Uncle Stewie is saying in this. But, in that same vein, Changeling is one of my favorite games of New WoD. Whereas I despised OWOD's Changeling. I really did. I don't know, I didn't like OWOD Changeling. But New WoD Changeling, they did their research about what the gentry are, which is the true Fae. They did their research as to what real fairy tales are like. And these were always morality tales. These were always the bad things happen to people who don't follow social norms. The treat strangers nice because they may steal your entrails to use as garters. Or, I mean, hell, look at some of the fairy tales we have, like Cinderella. Or the nastiest of all the gross fairy tales, Sleeping Beauty.
You're gonna get raped.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, quote-unquote love's first kiss was dude raping a sleeping chick and then marrying her. She essentially had Stockholm Syndrome. But...
I forget his mom tried to kill her, too.
Okay.
In the original Sleeping Beauty.
Being someone who has had some negative life experiences and understanding where Uncle Stewie is coming from, yeah, there are some things I probably would not be comfortable with in a Changeling game. But if you're playing in a tabletop, because in a large it would be harder to do this, but if you're playing in a tabletop with your friends, people you both respect and trust and actually have that bond of friendship, people who know you, they wouldn't put you in that scene. But again, in a LARP, that would be really hard to do, especially a global LARP.
But even then, so one of the things that drives me crazy about that, the premise is fine, the way you put it, if you've shared that past with your friends. But the problem is, most people that have had that kind of experience don't share that.
Except with your close friends.
Even then, they don't share it. Like, I mean...
There are people who have secrets.
Fair enough. I see where both of you are going
and so
with that.
But that creates the danger of that person approaching a game, and from them approaching it to find some kind of catharsis out of it, but finding that it's more traumatizing than it is assistive.
And that's...
I get what you're saying, but allow me to provide a scenario. Say you're running a Changeling game, Uncle Stewie, and where you're about to run my character through a scene that has to do with parts of my past you're unaware of. However, we're friends, there's that trust and respect. So I say, as soon as you start the scene, hey, Uncle Stewie, I'm sorry, I'm kind of uncomfortable with this. You, being that you're not knob-slobbing cock goblin, would go, you know what, Richard, that's cool. Let's do the fade to black. This is essentially what happens in this scene that needs to be told to you for plot. I'm not going to get into gory details, and we move on.
Yeah, that whole impetus relies on one responsible storyteller, right?
Why would you want to play a game with an irresponsible? Sorry, that's a question I shouldn't ask. Please continue. I apologize for interrupting.
So that's what I'm saying is you don't walk into that trap with your eyes open. One, it relies on the impetus of you having a responsible storyteller and a supportive group of friends, right? But the thing is, and I agree with that. It can be a useful tool to avoid the fade to black. But the problem is, in a LARP environment, there's not always a storyteller around.
And that's why I said you can't do this in a LARP.
Yeah, that was my whole premise for this game. Is that in a LARP environment, it attracts some pretty dark individuals, like people who have had personal traumas and they're looking for catharsis. But it also attracts some normal players. I'm not saying everyone who plays Changeling the Lost is a fractured, has a fractured brain.
But you keep mentioning catharsis, and unfortunately, psychological studies have shown the act of a cathartic release is actually worse for you, because anger and pain is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the worse it gets. So if you're trying for that cathartic release in a game like this, the more you have them, the worse you're going to spiral downwards.
Well, I mean, okay.
That seems horrid when you think about it like that.
And I have to say this right now because it drives the shit bat craziness out of me. I
want that on a t-shirt. You drive the shit bat craziness out of me.
Having been subjected to psychologists and psychiatrists when I was younger, I absolutely have to disagree with much anything anyone ever says that in relation to psychology or psychiatry. Mainly because I don't think any one person has the ability to understand any other person to that level. I don't think it's possible to interpret a human psyche to the level to which you can actually fix someone. You can try and guide them, and I don't count, finding guidance from someone is fine, but saying that, you understand the human psyche enough to actually make a profession around it is retarded. And so that's why when someone starts telling me about a bunch of psychology crap or the DSM or whatever, I don't care, because if I have a problem, I think that each person that has a quote unquote psychological separation or deviation also has the ability to mend themselves to a certain extent. I'm not talking about brain chemistry alterations like you fried your brain on crack, or you whacked yourself out, or
No, it's pronounced all. Whack yourself all.
No, I do that. It hasn't fractured my mentality at all.
No, it just gave you really hairy palms.
Very strong core.
And poor vision.
Really? I mean, you should see this kid. You should see him with
So
his arms. It looks
I
like Popeye over
I
here.
respect everyone's right to have their own belief about psychology, but to me, I think that if you have the strength of will or the foresight to recognize you have an issue, and you're going to see a psychologist, you also have the strength and the foresight to help correct your issue. Now, there are chemical imbalances which I think require a medical hand. Bipolar syndrome, schizophrenia for one.
I hate to say this, Stewie. You've gotten really off topic.
I understand, but what I'm saying is we were talking about the whole fact of when you said psychiatrists agree that catharsis is a bad thing. I don't think it is.
I said studies have shown.
Yeah, well, that's okay. What I'm saying is, but the studies are colored by the people who conduct them, and that's my. Anyway, getting off topic. Trying to get back on topic.
Got it.
Trying to get back on topic. It can be therapeutic to face your problems. Okay. I think a game in which you're interacting with other people is the wrong. People who are not aware of your problem is the wrong thing to do.
And I would agree.
All right. We done with Changeling?
Just to state again, I apparently am in the minority in this. I like Changeling the Lost.
I actually like it.
I despised Changeling the Dreaming and adore Changeling the Lost. I don't know if that's the normal way to do this. If you like one, you don't like the other, or not.
Actually, it's not uncommon because I actually disliked Dreaming and Shining Host, the LARP version.
I really like Lost. It actually has one of my favorite antagonists, folks, Autumn Nightmares, mostly because it presents here, this is possibly what the truth they are, and it goes from everything from elder gods of Lovecraft to aliens, like simple grays who just disguise themselves. It gives a lot of possibilities. Very interesting read. Great splat book.
I think, okay. How do I say this without being totally unpolitical about it? Changeling is a game. These are all games. I can't fault the people who wrote the games for having an interest in a particular phenomena or cultural insight into the Fae or whatever. But this is the worst podcast I could possibly be on because I don't like that approach to storytelling. And almost everyone around this table is a fan of the Lovecraft mythos, right? I don't really care for it.
That's fine.
In the sense that, and so personal horror, or not personal, I guess that's how it is personal, but horror in general seems like a waste of ink on a page for me most of the time because I don't get into it. I like sci-fi, I like fantastic adventure, I like.
It's not your aesthetic.
Yeah, and so. Like I said, at the top of the podcast, I said that it's a great toolkit for doing things. But everyone who approaches White Wolf games approaches it from the World of Darkness bent, and the way that they try to apply the Gothic horror template across the entire field. And it drives me crazy.
Do you have a copy of World of Darkness? If so, I did not.
Mirrors?
Because actually Mirrors does a good job of presenting alternate settings, and I think you might enjoy it because it does sci-fi.
No, it's I like the mechanics of the system. I think it's a great mechanical system. I think the people who wrote the material went overboard.
Remind me to send you a copy. I actually bought it on Drive-Thru.
Yeah. And I apologize, Mr. Keeley. You're a nice guy. But some of the stuff that got written, so dull. Not yours, Mason, but most of the stuff.
So, okay, we've got 3 more games to go, just so you know.
He's still working up.
Next up is Hunter the Vigil. Basic update of OWAD Hunter. There really wasn't much of a difference, in my opinion, between Vigil and Reckoning.
There's some awesome additions.
Good Lord.
And then basically it's powered up humans hunt supernaturals. It's the same basic premise in both Hunter games.
But do you go crazy?
I'm gonna go crazy.
Ashwood Abbey, we hunt things for fun. We got drugs, hookers, and more guns. We fight werewolves naked with a knife. They're just out of really over the top sick bastards, and
I will admit that I do actually like the Luciforge hunters. I think that is like kind of an awesome concept.
Let's save Satan.
Or actually, I have a descendant of Satan in
But
human form.
There is actually a faction of them. It's a faction of them that actually does go. Let's say we're here to redeem Lucifer.
I mean, I
Which is
thought.
probably a throwback to their OWAD demon game where Lucifer was trying to redeem himself. I'm not going to be able to add to this conversation. I've never even seen Hunter the Vigil. I've never read it, so.
I've listened. I've never played it. I do have listened to actual plays of it. It's pretty interesting. Some of the different factions, like the Mouse Maleficarum, which is
Hammer of Witches?
yeah. Basically, they're the Inquisition is still somewhat alive, and you actually have like holy powers from God.
No one ever expects it. As a question, in Hunter the Reckoning, when you got to the 5th dot of your power, you went crazy and could no longer play your character.
Right.
Is that still how Hunter the... I was told Hunter the Vigil didn't have supernatural powers.
You have endowments. Like Lucifer actually can throw hellfire.
Okay, so you do have supernatural
Yes.
powers. Do they drive you crazy?
No.
That's my knowledge.
Do they all come from some, not really divine, but some cosmic spark, like they did in The Reckoning?
A lot of the humans, like the Vascuits, kind of like teleinformatics, will definitely drive you crazy. Plus, they'll wind up doing physical damage to you every time you use them.
Wait, there's a power that does damage to you?
Yeah, teleinformatics.
Just say that 5 times fast.
Teleinformatics.
Right. What does it do?
So basically, it allows you to siphon information and energy and clues from the ether and then apply them to investigations. The Vascu use it all the time.
Hey DM, you're running this game wrong and you haven't given me enough clues. I'm gonna use my power.
Exactly. That's what it's for.
But like,
Nice.
there's also Task Force Valkyrie, which is we find supernatural things, we carve them open and take what we need,
This
and
is
we
where
make
they
it
introduce a
bullshit.
lot of the organizations that actually have become prominent in Accord.
Yep.
Which we will discuss in a bit.
Accord, which Anne loves to bring up, is a custom venue from Mind's Eye Society. It is not in any way an actual product of White Wolf, even though it probably should be. Because we have been throwing the word Accord around a lot.
Well, like I said, we'll get into a discussion of it. It is considered an official NWAD game now. So
It is?
yes.
Are they getting a book?
I don't know if they're getting a book, but it is
Like, even a splat book would be fine for me. But
It's actually considered an official NWAD game.
because I would love to play an Accord tabletop. Uncle Stewie, you hearing me on this? Run an Accord tabletop.
Okay, so not a whole lot on Hunter for all of us. Okay, this is the next venue, and this is Geist Cityhurst. Okay, give me a minute.
They're risen from a worldwide, right?
Yeah, similar in tone to Wraith and Orpheus from OWAD, because
Or the
really
risen
are.
specifically, because they're a corpse that the ghost jumps in.
Geist features mortals who have died and made a deal with a spirit called a Geist in order to return to life. In return for that life, the human has to share their body and mind with the Geist.
So it's Wraith and Demon from OWAD mixed together.
And as I was going into the LARP aspect of it, it has been LARPed. In the Cameral MES, it did not last long as a particularly widespread venue.
But it did have some behemoth followers.
Oh my god! As I said in here, it had an extremely passionate fan base.
They have the fewest followers, but they have the most devoted followers.
I'm going to call someone out there, Dio.
Hi, Dia!
Dio is a Geist loving motherfucker.
I'm saying they rival Apocalypse fans, and that's
It's like they.
that's it. That's it.
As
That's
I said,
something
in
a
the
redneck.
Cameral MES, it had an extremely passionate fan
Chocolate
base.
donut?
They kept it alive.
Is it
It was
motherfucking chocolate donut?
small pockets from its beginning until the most recent Chronicle change, where they eliminated it as its own menu.
But it does have players
passionate fans.
in the Accord.
Now, I know the only bits I honestly know about Geist are it's a combination of OWAD Wraith in the concept of the Risen, which is a ghost that takes over a human body,
It's more like
And
Orpheus
it's
in tone.
and Demon, which is your personality merges with a thing that comes with you to take over your body.
Well,
I don't really know the theme or the factions of the group. I just know, as it's been explained to me, it's a combination of those two systems for character creation.
Yeah.
Or personality creation when you create a
But
character.
Demon the Possessed is...
That's
Demon the Fallen?
No, there's a Possessed sub-arc in
Demon the
Inferno. The book is called Inferno. World of Darkness Inferno.
and then there's actual Demon the whatever, I can't remember what it's called.
But that's technically part of the
Second
God
ed.
Onyx
Machine.
Path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
second ed.
Oh, wait, they made a new WAD Demon?
Yeah, for second ed.
Wait, for Onyx Path WAD.
Yeah, Onyx
Yeah.
Path are.
Op WAD.
Optional one.
You know, that does actually work.
But
Uncle Stewie, do you know much about Geist?
those guys.
I know enough about Geist that I tried to avoid running scenes for the Geist players during record
May I ask why?
because I don't know anything about Geist.
It's a lack of knowledge, not a you dislike the system or
I thought
the
it
theme.
was intriguing. They had some pretty kick-ass powers, but like I said,
It's hard to fucking.
I once narrated at an ICC International Camarilla Convention.
And that's the big one, folks.
That's the big one. I narrated for the Geist room, like I did, like narrating calls. I didn't do actual story.
Out of curiosity, how many people were in said Geist room?
About 90.
And
this
that was every Geist fan ever.
probably.
All 90 of them converged to make Uncle Stewie run a scene. They threatened him with physical harm and wet willies.
Brazilian.
It was a cool. I mean, like
Brazilian wet
Kim,
willies.
who ran the Geist venue, is a stellar storyteller. She goes all out for the games, like really killer games. But I was so lost, and all I was doing was holding cards out for them to pull cards out of my hands.
We already went over Changeling. This is Sin Eaters.
I know.
You said I was so lost. I was picking up the word.
Whatever.
Shut up, it was funny.
I don't have to take this abuse. I can go lay down.
Okay.
Because my president's black and my Lambo is blue.
Taking my ball and going home.
What's next? I'm tired.
Yeah,
give me a
we
sec.
really aren't.
We
big
are on the
Geist,
last one.
apparently.
Give me Ash.
I believe the last one is Accord.
Yes, it is.
Woot.
Which isn't really an official venue.
Apparently it now is, according to your wife.
Well, yeah, I thought it was going to become an official venue now.
Unless Onyx Path is writing a book for it.
That's what it means by official venue.
I mean, I assumed it was an official venue because it was endorsed by CCP.
It is
who
a-
owns the damn company.
It's a fan-based venue. We should give it a shout-out because it is fun, and we do know a lot of people who play.
Okay,
I
so
enjoyed it.
it's not an official venue, folks. Sorry for
In
The confusion.
because I thought it was. Oops.
I personally like it. Not
Let's get a
Okay.
Miss Ann. Tell us about Accord, the unofficial official
Official.
venue.
It's Splat the Splat.
Yeah, its
And
official title is NWAD Combined The Accord. It's the newest NWAD LARP. It is pretty much exclusive to MES at this point, although I think Obi-Wan has started to pick it up too. From what I heard, I could be wrong.
Obi-Wan is
It's
one
One
more
More
by
by
One
night.
More World by Night.
Okay.
Introduced in the MES at the beginning of its most recent chronicle, a player is allowed to choose a supernatural template, often called a splat, from almost any NWAD game. This includes
I
both.
thought it was any.
No, because you couldn't play Innocence
Well, that's because as we went over, it would be hard to
and Creepy.
factor. Okay, we've already been over Mind's Eye Society doesn't mind role-playing children doing things they shouldn't.
Let's skip
Yeah.
over that and skip over.
A player is allowed to choose a supernatural template. Okay, this included both major templates, vampire, mage, werewolf, etc., but also minor templates such as psychics, proximity, and the like.
Ghouls, enchanted.
Most recently, OWAD vampires have also been introduced as an option.
What?
In this game, various supernatural creatures cooperate to prevent a powerful entity called the Truth, and I will get into that, and its various minions from destroying reality as they have many others.
The Truth's name is spelled CTHULU.
No, can't use that because it's copyright. You didn't know that OWAD vampires were?
No.
How did you not know that?
Maybe I deleted it out of my memory.
Justin Sisson plays Set.
Like, as in the. Nate plays Cardinal Moncada.
Not that we're naming.
Sorry.
Guys, we really are trying not to name names.
Sorry.
Those two wouldn't count.
Probably not, anyway.
I'm sorry. I figured they were just playing characters' names set and we're gonna get off the air because
No way.
No.
I remember.
no way they'd be that much of a cheese monkey than I realized
remember
what I'm talking
when
about.
a certain someone who was playing Cardinal Moncada told me it was from a auction
Yeah, you got
that he got the right to play. And from how it was explained to me, these OWAD vampires, however, it's the OWAD background with new WAD vampire stats,
Yeah.
or has
Yes.
that been changed?
No, that's correct.
But they also had to keep some of the powers were also rolled into.
So wait, some of the disciplines are
The disciplines that did not
actually
exist
OWAD.
already
They
were
rewrote them or wrote them.
They basically customized versions of Thaumaturgy.
Obtenebration does exist. Well, the new WAD obtenebration is so much different than OWAD.
But it converted to new WAD Opten when you got
Oh, it did. Okay.
And so like some of the other powers like vicissitude and stuff and
Vicissitude.
Obea.
were converted to
Wait, someone's playing someone with Obea.
versions of Theban sorcery.
They can.
So Obea became Theban
Kruak.
sorcery?
Theban
Or Kruak?
Or Kruak. And then
It's not its own
Aldunic
discipline.
sorcery became a version of Kruak that had some
That
other
makes
effects.
sense, actually. But
This
Obea as a sorcery instead of its own discipline, I don't see that. Do you still get the third eye and the negative?
Yes.
You have all the negatives as your original character.
Even
Because
like
the
clan
basis-
disadvantages?
The
and
basis
stuff?
for introducing OWAD is that the truth has manifested itself in many different alternative realities and has destroyed quite a few of those and was responsible for
Destroying every previous chronicle that the Camarilla has run, or EMS has run, was one of those worlds that was destroyed by the truth. And so you could basically bring back a character from any OWAD or any OWAD vampire venue into the new Accord, and they convert the template on top of a modern splat.
So if you had an old character you really wanted to bring back for a second chance,
Gunny's coming back.
actually Gunny you could just play.
Jack Ryder, the Malkavian psychologist. Yay! Malkavian psychologist can live again.
Wait, if you do that, his husband's coming soon.
And so basically,
The love story that
these
never
characters
was.
are refugees that survived the splitting of the world and basically jumped through a portal at the last minute
And landed in
and our
this
current
universe.
Accord venue.
Yeah. And as part of a fundraising effort, because the Camarilla and MES are very active in fundraising for various causes, as one of their charity item auctions at a campaign, certain people bought the rights to play
Named
named OWAD NPCs. Yes, the El Diablo Verde is actually out.
Damn it! I was gonna ask if I could play him.
So Sasha, Lycos, El Diablo Verde,
Lilith is out there.
Lilith, Set.
Wait, Lilith?
Yep.
Yeah, Lilith is actually active.
Okay, so Lilith is a mage, right? Because they've written Lilith up a few times, and she was the mage that taught
This was
King
the mother of the
discipline.
gangrel, basically. Lilith. Like
Okay,
the mother of monsters.
So the new WAD Lilith, as opposed to OWAD Lilith.
No, she's
She's
technically
an
the OWAD Lilith.
Oh, what Lilith? I think basically Echidna.
The way Lilith was explained to me, like Book of Nod style, Lilith was Adam's first wife that was kicked out of Eden, forced to wander the lands of Nod, and when Cain was kicked out, he met up with Lilith, and Lilith, being the first mage, taught him how to use his blood to fuel the new disciplines he now had. So she's a vampire and a mage? Or just
She's some.
She's the mother of all monsters.
She's the mother of OWAD vampire, basically, yes.
she's special. Got it. She is a snowflake.
And then someone else, and someone was playing. So there's Cardinal Moncada,
who is an awesome Lasombra, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
and then
Lucida.
Lucida and Sybil.
Wait,
Also came back.
who's Sybil?
Sybil
not
was
recognizing
Moncado's.
No, that's not Moncada. She had nothing to do with Moncada.
She was like a grandchild of Moncada.
Oh, that's right.
She was. She started out as a 7th gen and Diablo at 4th.
Yeah!
Yeah.
She was badass.
Where'd she find the force?
You don't want to know that. Sybil is awesome.
No, because she actually killed Lucida's sire.
Right.
That's what she galvanized. That's
What
why.
about
That's why they have a.
No.
They have a.
Actually, Anatole came back too. Sorry, I forgot about that.
who is the Malkavian who did the research into vampire history? He was one of the long-running NPC. He was like 11th gen, but like the second edition clan books were usually written by him doing research into the
Didn't
clans.
they call him like the Chronicler or something like that?
I thought the Chronicler was his sire, and he had an actual name.
God. I think I know who you're talking about. Was the one who kind of went crazy, started scrolling the end of the world in his own blood?
No.
Azatol?
Anatoly?
And no.
You're thinking about the guy who witnessed Samisi like ass whooping everyone and became a secret spy for him. The one who started scribbling the end of the world.
Yeah.
The Malkavian I'm thinking of is the Book of Nod prop book was written by him or compiled by him.
Yeah.
Can you look it up real quick, Uncle Stewie, if you don't mind?
But anyway, yeah. Basically, the way Accord works is that
Any and everything can exist.
any and everything can exist, and you are, and they address the fact that most of these groups are diametrically opposed to each other. As, yeah, you hate each other, but this
But you
thing
wanna
is just
survive.
trying to This thing is trying to kill all y'all. So you're gonna work together.
For now.
For now.
Aristotle de Laurent.
Say again?
Aristotle de Laurent.
I guess that's him.
So the authors contributed to the book are Aristotle de Laurent, Beckett, Sasha Vikos.
Beckett.
Beckett.
That's the name I was trying to think of.
But the agreement is that, yes, you will all work together. You will not kill each other.
Because
after-
you will be punished by in-game mechanics if there is any PKing that goes on.
It was the Messimene,
Huh?
or Nemesine.
The memory?
Beckett was, yeah.
I thought he was Malkavian.
But,
Clan Gangrel.
Okay.
so I play a werewolf who is blood talon, meaning basically he's the warriors amongst werewolves, which is kind of a little bit redundant, but basically he operates on the idea, okay, I will work with these people for now. Once we have put the truth down, I'm going to hunt them all down and kill each and every last one of them. Because they have worked with me faithfully and they have been good people, I will make it quick.
Because they're bringing spirits across the border? Why do you hate everyone?
Some of them are kind of abominations, like Geist, largely from a Forsaken point of view, is an abomination. It should not
Right.
exist. You
I
should just
understand you
outright
going
kill
after
them.
guys.
The other changing breeds, and
Annie.
yeah, Annie's more of a moral issue. But largely because Forsaken's also
Yeah.
with the idea
A friend's character.
plays a
Eon, because Eon's a murder hobo.
Oh,
They call him Eon.
basically Forsaken's
What
written.
is Annie?
Annie is a Belial's bird vampire.
So he's evil. So you
Evil.
want to kill him. I get that.
Basically, Forsaken was also written with the idea that they have a strong sense of other. They have a strong sense of, if this is unknown, if I don't understand it, if it's different from me, I should kill it and ask questions later.
That's horrible.
But there are like humans in the group, like Alex, for
character.
instance, who played a enlightened immortal, I believe is what they're officially. It's a human from the WoD Immortals Blue Book that essentially is they're from Second Sight.
Second sight, yeah.
I thought they were a WoD Immortal.
Are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about Purified.
Purified, yeah.
Right.
Purified.
Taste the rainbow.
Yeah.
The ones who quite literally are the most broken character in New WoD.
Oh yeah, no.
I cannot die. I can get supernatural powers. I have no downsides, and I
They
have
can die.
no natural enemies.
Once they run out of their
Yes,
Sure.
they get to go into the Umbra or the Shadow for 30 days, get their 10 essence, and make a new body.
No. But if they ever run out of like whatever their
Essence.
whatever their power stat is, because
Essence.
every time they regenerate, they lose one
Keys, I think.
key.
Is the power stat.
Every time they run out of key.
I didn't think they had
but
a
if,
power
but
stat.
if they ever get below one key, they can't reform.
I didn't know they had a power stat.
And when I was playing, because I have taken a break from LARPing of recent, my character was a human psychic.
I played a standard mage. Along with a friend who then moved to multiple other states. he was playing my brother, so my impetus for playing said character kind of disappeared, unfortunately. But I like the way the Accord is written. I think some of the imposed rules are a little heavy-handed. Like, every PK makes more Cthulhuoid monsters show up to strangle you all to death.
It's a bit of a necessity.
I understand. I just think it's a little heavy-handed in its implementation.
Unfortunately, it needs to be more heavy-handed because
Yeah,
it's not working.
Current events indicate no. You need to be hard.
That's just bad. Never mind. I'm not saying.
So and then I'm going to start my statement by saying this. I story told for the Accord when it launched.
And did a great job doing it for everyone who can hear me.
Okay, and so here's my thing. The Camarilla, or MES, is organized into storyteller hierarchies. You have the master storyteller,
Who's in charge of
everything. You have the national storyteller, who's in charge of everything inside of a national borders. Then
and
you
they
have
all have assistants that sub-focus.
and then they have assistants and stuff. I'm going for basic hierarchies.
Well, I had a question. Is there a master storyteller of the Accord? Or
No.
is it just a master storyteller?
There's a master storyteller liaison's office. Then there's a national storyteller, and then there's what's called a regional storyteller, and those are the higher levels of approvals or of storyteller fiat. Then it gets down into domain storyteller and venue storyteller.
How big is a region again?
It's geographical.
It's based on geographical separations, but there's like
How big is our region? How about that? Because we're south.
North Carolina, South Carolina,
Florida.
a little bit of Florida, all the way down to Florida, Georgia.
The Southeast is
Southeast.
the largest.
All of
isn't it?
Georgia?
Well, basically, if you think about the Southeast geographical region of the United States, that's our region.
And we don't split states at all.
Nope.
It's a whole state.
It's a whole state.
Okay.
And
So,
so
yeah, we have a lot.
Alabama.
East Coast, the East Central, I'm sorry, is probably one of the smallest.
Yeah. And so basically, and then you have a region. So then you have domains, which are small, usually like 3 or 4 counties can be combined into a domain.
Hell, I think we have more than that though.
We do. We have a huge freaking domain here.
Even though we just lost half of it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Jacksonville got their own domain.
I don't
Or Fayetteville.
Anyway.
All right. So anyway, and then you have venue storytellers. So in all the other focused venues, focus venue vampire, focus venue mage, focus venue werewolf, that venue storyteller is responsible for understanding one splat and doing it. And then the domain storyteller is basically responsible for having an overview of all those splat types and overseeing the stories and how they interact with each other inside the domain.
And you have been a domain storyteller.
I've been a domain storyteller, I've been a venue storyteller, I've been assistant regional coordinator. So I mean, the one downside to the Accord is on the storytellers because they put so much onus and so much power into the venue storyteller's hands that it's basically like being a regional storyteller because almost all the approvals are low. So
really?
Yeah, almost all approvals are low in Accord.
Oh yeah, that's right. You can get like the super rare vampire bloodlines. You can just,
And so
Boa Grande, that's what I was
But the
talking
problem
about.
is the venue storyteller has to have an understanding of all the splats in his game, which is many and varied, even in our domain.
How many books did you carry with you as
I had
Accord storyteller?
I had 15 different books just for splats on my tablet.
How often did you have to reference them in any particular game?
Almost every game. I got to where I had people print out their particular powers on a separate sheet.
And this is also a game where you have to tell people, hey, you better know how your shit works. I'm not telling you.
Because I can't tell you how it works. I'm too busy.
Yeah.
And so every venue storyteller has to write what's called a venue storyteller report, which basically reports on his venue and how it interacts and does its thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem is with Accord and the way the MES runs it, you have to your VST report. You have to submit a RQ action report, an RQ report, a reality quotient. How weak the reality is in your area, then how strong the monster is coming through.
And could you explain to our listeners what are things that can affect an RQ in your RQ report?
I'm going to get there.
Oh.
And then you had to submit quartermaster reports. So you had 5 reports to submit just for one VST office.
That's for the trinkets that you can get.
Okay.
All right, so the way it works in the Accord is you have this thing called the reality quotient or the RQ metric. That is how weak or how strong the border between your reality and the truth is. and how much influence the truth has over your particular area.
Is the truth an entity or a place? Because it's sounding kind of like both.
It's an idea, pretty much more than anything.
Okay.
It's a consciousness that is like too big and too vast to understand as an enemy, one focused enemy.
It reminds me a lot of descriptions of Carcosa from like Lovecraft mythology, because it's both an entity and a place and everything.
And so,
but not a place you'd ever want to visit.
Yeah, things that can affect our Q are being a supernatural character.
That's right.
Exercising your powers as a supernatural character.
Certain supernaturals affect the RQ more than others.
Yep. Cultists investing belief and structure into an item known as an artifact. Tears,
bad guys, right?
Abominations. Yeah, cultists are the bad guys.
That wasn't an abomination. I know in OI what it was. But.
So in the Accord, if you have an artifact and the artifact ruptures into a portal, monstrous creatures can be summoned from the other realities. Basically, fractured realities can come and coalesce as a being that can be released into your world.
Like realities that have already been consumed, but these are like the crumbs left on the truth shirt of those realities.
So I'll describe an abomination from one of our mini regionals we did, or a game feature game of the month. So the idea was that the Pope of the Church of the Truth, Ultimate Truth, was coming to do basically a nationwide tour, and he'd come through Raleigh.
And press the flesh.
Yeah, and so his real reason for coming was to search for these things called reality crystals. Things that were basically fragments of other realities that got deposited when those realities exploded and basically landed here. But they also allowed him to use those reality stones to weaken our reality. Because they're already presence, something like, that their presence being here already creates a weakness. And so he was trying to gather them all up and turn them into a weapon. And so basically he brought along with him an abomination to every town he visited to go hunt for this crystal.
Okay.
And so our abomination that got summoned was actually, it was basically the tortured and much maligned corpses of children and toddlers basically compressed into a single moving form that wielded a merry-go-round as a shield and a gigantic sword made out of like sharpened bones that would just like stomp through and just wail and hack and slash and sword
It was creepy.
It was a bunch of babies made into a...
Well, not babies, but like
monster.
children, like dead children, like graveyard corpses and stuff that have been dug up and...
But all young, not...
Yeah. And so, but basically, all the mouths on the corpse, or all the corpses were, basically moving, and they were singing. Actually, I wonder if I can play this back.
If you can't, I can simply say what it was. It was creepy.
Oh, I got that right here. But anyway, they were singing this song. Ring around the rosy. In a minor chord, which is ridiculously creepy. And I think everyone else here has heard of it with Richards, so, or Inari. But they were basically singing that in children's voices that were disembodied. And so
it's actually very relaxing.
The thing about the Accord is that the abominations, according to the rules, are not allowed to be comical, and they're not allowed to be frivolous. And so they have to be traumatizing and basically scary as shit. And, my penchant for not playing horror games, or, not enjoying horror games, I do enjoy creating scary situations for other people, but I don't enjoy being subjected to scary situations. I'm a masochist, I guess?
No. You don't enjoy being
I'm a sadist.
You're a sadist.
I'm a sadist.
Sorry, enjoy inflicting emotional pain on others.
But anyway, so in the long run, the idea of the game is to fend off the enemy and secure a future for our world. And in order to do that, we've combined the powers of every supernatural we can think of into a single fighting force. And yet we're being confronted by cultists and the Church of Truth and corrupted individuals.
And even some supernaturals from those groups who have chosen to side with the Truth.
Yes. And so that is what's causing this whole backlash and this war. This, to everyone outside, it looks like a cold wolf. Nothing is actually happening, but the aftermath and the blood and the gore is basically being hidden from. Yeah, it's real enough, but it's being hidden from the mortals. Your generic persons.
It's abuse if you say that.
Since you mentioned abomination, I actually have a question about them. In OWAD, an abomination was an official creature type that was a werewolf who had been embraced into a vampire.
Yep.
Can you make those in New One?
They die.
Dead Wolf is probably as close as go.
And Dead Wolf is...
Dead Wolf is a gangrel bloodline. They are pre-changed werewolves that get embraced. You can Avis into the bloodline. You just are at a gangrel. They get a discipline called Self-Lunario, which grants them some of the advantages of being a werewolf. You can actually buy an auspice. It gives you a bonus to certain skills.
Okay.
You can get a devotion that allows you sort of a near. Think the Wolfman, the original.
Where you have like a regular human face and a bunch of hair and paws.
Yeah. It doesn't grant you strength bonuses. It gives you like a perception and intimidation bonus. Instead, it's really not a very good devotion.
But embracing a full werewolf actually results in the death of the werewolf.
Immediately?
Yeah, they can't survive.
Why?
Same thing for a mage. Embracing a mage causes them to die.
It doesn't cause them to just lose their arcanum or anything like that?
Oh, they're originally when they first started playing it. Yeah, if you embraced a mage, they lost all access to their magic. But they would tend to gravitate towards Kruak or
The crone
The
or
blood
the,
sorcery.
Phoenix.
But then somewhere along the lines, someone made the ruling that they would just die.
Okay, Mind's Eye Society made that rule.
Right.
By the books, they just lose their arcanums,
Yeah.
or... Okay. By the books, do the werewolves die when they're embraced?
Yes.
Okay.
They wanted to avoid that.
Because it violates the spirit form of the creature, and they can't survive without it.
Because you do lose something when you become a vampire.
Makes sense, okay. So, you can't have an abomination as an abomination, unfortunately.
There is one particular mage, left-handed legacy, which is a vampire
Race, they just learned how to do it.
and they basically turn.
Who are they? Are they a Mastigos? Left-handed passive?
Maybe they're on.
I think they are
Well,
Mastigos.
maybe they're over. No, they might not be masters. I think
They're the Necromancers,
Yeah.
which is not Mastigos.
Moros.
Moros.
Yes.
Moros. That's it.
They're Moros left-handed legacy.
Obermost are the
Ice Might.
faithful,
Ice
like
Might
the old
is
special
well.
chorus. Mastigos are the devil ones, right? But they're not necromancers. What? Because I played one. They get space and
The
mind.
Mastigos?
Yeah, they're
How are they explained?
They're the nightmare creatures. They're basically they
They're
live
from
in
hell.
they're from a world of nightmares.
Okay. Hey, Ann. Tell us
Narc.
what you record.
Narcolepsy.
No, it's not normal. It's exhaustion. I'm very tired.
So why don't we start wrapping up then?
That's why we need to say, Ian, wake up a second.
Anyway, Accord. I loved Accord from the very minute I heard about it. I actually very much enjoyed being able to play some of the templates that get a whole lot of love. Like, I play Psychic, or played a Psychic. Technically, it still exists because I haven't retired it. She's a hell of a lot of fun to play. And it's.
I want to murder you.
I truly named my character after Janet Weiss from the Marky Horror Picture Show.
Janet Jenkins
Accord
Alvarez.
in general, yeah.
I dig. the
Two
Accord.
thumbs up.
Oh yeah.
Is there, since you are tired and it is getting late, is there anything else on the schedule to talk about?
Not really, unless we want to talk about, like, do we prefer an in-water O-Wad real quick, because that's a legitimate
We
discussion.
could probably make that an
Entire episode.
I've got, yeah, let's not open that can of worms right now.
A quick shout out to a player who hopefully she's listening, and this is about to record one of her report uses, where pandas are an existential threat that need to be wiped from existence. And if I see the Iron Panda, I'm gonna kill it. It will.
Noted. Anything else, people? Other than fear the Iron Panda?
Kill the Iron Panda!
I'm gonna look forward to our Pathfinder D&D discussion because I am totally tired of
Quest-wise, it's only a two-parter.
Adventure system.
D&D and Pathfinder will probably be our next discussion, actually. We're going in that direction.
We haven't discussed Fate either. So we've done an episode of Rampaging Murderhobos playing Fate Accelerated.
Oh, yeah, that discussion.
We haven't had a discussion about it.
Yeah.
I also like to think that we aren't just going to talk about game systems.
There are going to be probably many other geek discussions.
There's probably at some point, I'd like to do it maybe next week before Matt, that guy has to go. You know.
Totally not his real name.
Because he's a comic book nerd, and my wife's a comic book nerd, and I'm a comic book napper. So I'd like to
use
run that.
comic books as a blanket like a hobo. I mean, it makes sense because we're not a hobo, but
I can hold up my own for about 3 minutes in a comic book discussion, then it goes beyond my knowledge of comic books.
you have a superficial comic knowledge. Okay.
I have a Marvel movie universe understanding of comic books.
Boo is.
They did a pretty good job, I think. I enjoyed them. But
I'm still gonna argue that the original Punisher, starring Thomas Jane, is probably the best Marvel movie ever made.
the one where he like torches the guy with a popsicle?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that was okay. I thought
Okay, in Uncle Stewie's mind, translates to amazingly fucking awesome, great movie. Good job bringing it up, Richard. For those of you who don't speak Uncle Stewie.
I like Marvel movies a little better than that's me.
it was okay.
All Punisher Warzone is splatter porn.
I thought Spawn was better than this.
I'm actually a big fan of Spawn.
The special effects, yes. Writing.
It was for the time period for comic book movies, because remember, when Spawn came out, I know you're too young to notice that guy, but there weren't really a lot of comic book movies coming out, and those that had were kind of shitty.
Alive, and I both remember it, so.
For its time.
That guy's like 12 and a half. It's in almost 2 years.
For its time, Spawn was a great movie. So, I agree with Uncle Stewie. But we can probably make that another episode.
Comic
I
book
think
movies
we should.
versus comic book.
We're gonna
We
try.
should probably wrap up.
We should probably get that guy's Skype connection so we can mix match him in the mixer and then talk to us wherever he's not allowed to tell us where he's at.
Undisclosed locations.
He won't be able to.
Will you get after you get through the crawling under the wire phase, will you be able to have a computer in a
Yes.
place where the desks are and the beds all pile up?
Yes.
Right. So at that point you can Skype in.
It'll be the first 9 weeks he won't have access to any electronics, cell phone, computer, anything. After that, when he's at schooling, he'll have access to anything he wants and knows.
Think it's cool.
School.
Anyway, we were gonna try to fit in one more episode before that guy leaves us for a long time, but if we can't,
Suck it.
and if we can't, we're still discussing who's gonna be the new host. And,
Uncle Stewie.
well, yeah, that's kind of good.
1, 2, 3, not it.
I totally. If I'm going to be the host, I am going to Shanghai Bowen and make him a permanent Murderhobo.
I second.
I second this motion.
And we'll get Alex in here as much as we can. And I'd like to bring Bear up and make Bear a Murderhobo.
Uncle Stewie essentially is saying he doesn't want me to be a Murderhobo anymore.
You can be a Murderhobo. I'm just saying I want more people on the table. More people means I have to talk less.
But at any rate, folks, we really hope you enjoyed our discussions on the classic new World of Darkness version 1, volume 2. Did I get it all this time?
Yeah, something like
Sure.
that.
Okay. I swear they're gonna put out another edition and we're gonna have to like get a paragraph of titles like talking about the Queen of England and all the places she's Queen Regent of.
I thought that's what the other is.
Essentially, we're gonna have to have all those titles for classic New World of Darkness Volume 1 version 3.5.
Anyway,
The D20 version.
on that note,
Wait, I just reminded myself we left something out of our new WAD discussion. McWAD. Monty Cook's World of Darkness.
Doesn't count.
It's a D20 New World of Darkness
Doesn't
program
count.
that function. Let me at least finish. That the plotline functions almost exactly word for word like the Accord. And if you have a chance to find this book, look into it. If you liked what we said about the Accord, McWad is going to be right up your alley.
There's a copy of McWad available at Henry K here in Raleigh for $3.
It's also available on our RPG directory. But on that note, it's worth it. As always, remember, kill things, take their things are not your things because you have killed them. Signing off, that guy.
Uncle Stewie.
And
Stay classy, Planet Earth.
you want to give him your name there?
I mean, Ron Burgundy.
Richard says goodnight.
Good night, folks.
Put it simply, Ron Burgundy was the fall.
I thought that I would have paused the recording.
Damn it, now I want to watch Anchorman again.
I think I'm going to stop the broadcast.
What do you mean never, man?